Welcome, dear listeners, to another evening where we slip into the folds of history, letting its stories wrap around us like a soft, familiar blanket. I'm your narrator, here to guide you through a journey that's equal parts tranquil and captivating, designed to lull you into a peaceful state or perhaps even carry you gently into sleep. Tonight we're traveling back over 2,000 years to the heart of ancient China, under the reign of Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty, a time of towering ambition, sprawling empires, and a justice system that could chill the bones as much as it shaped a civilization. So, settle in, close your eyes, and let the world fade away. Picture the rustle of silk robes, the distant clang of a bronze bell, and the faint scent of incense drifting through a palace courtyard. This is a story of power, of order, and of lives caught in the unyielding grip of imperial law. If you find comfort in these tales, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more nights like this. Now, take a deep breath, and let's step into the past. Imagine a world where the emperor was seen as the son of heaven, his every word a decree from the divine. In 141 BCE, a 16-year-old boy named Liu Che ascended the dragon throne, taking the title Emperor Wu, or Woody, a name that would echo through history. His reign would stretch for over 5 decades, a time when China's borders expanded, its culture flourished, and its roads stretched like veins across mountains and plains. The Han Dynasty under Wu became a beacon of progress, laying the foundations for the Silk Road and weaving Confucianism into the fabric of governance. But beneath this golden age lay a shadow, a justice system so strict, so unyielding that it could crush a life as easily as a blade slices through bamboo. To live under Emperor Wu was to walk a tightrope, where one misstep could plunge you into ruin. Picture yourself in a bustling market in Chang'an, the capital city, where merchants hawk jade and spices, and ox carts creak under the weight of grain. The air hums with voices, the clink of coins, and the chatter of daily life. But there's a tension too, a quiet fear that lingers like morning mist. Everyone knows the emperor's laws are absolute. A stolen loaf, a whispered criticism, or a moment of defiance could bring the magistrate's cold gaze upon you. Justice under Wu was not just about punishment, it was about control, about ensuring the empire stood as solid as the Great Wall itself. To understand this world, we'll walk through the lives of ordinary people, a farmer, a scholar, a widow, a soldiery, caught in the web of Wu's laws. Their stories, some real, some woven from the threads of history's truths, will show us just how brutal justice could be. This isn't a tale of endless cruelty, though. It's a story of human resilience, of people navigating a world where survival meant understanding the emperor's will. We'll hear the crunch of boots on a dusty road as exiles march to distant frontiers. We'll feel the weight of a scribe's brush as he records a verdict that seals a family's fate. We'll stand in the shadow of the palace where even the powerful trembled before Wu's wrath. Through these moments, we'll see how justice shaped not just lives but an entire empire, binding it together with fear and order in equal measure. So, let's begin our journey, step by step, into a time when the law was as sharp as a sword and as heavy as the mountains. As we move forward, I'll weave these stories with a rhythm that's gentle yet gripping, like a friend sharing a tale by the fire. If you're enjoying this journey, please subscribe to the channel. That helps us keep bringing these stories to life. Now, let's cross the threshold into ancient China, where the emperor's justice awaits us. Close your eyes, dear listener, and let the world fade into the soft hum of the past. Picture a vast land stretching beneath a sky heavy with clouds, where the rivers carve their paths through emerald valleys and the mountains stand like silent sentinels. It's 141 BCE, and the Han Dynasty is about to change forever. A boy, barely 16, steps into the light of the imperial court. His name is Liu Che, soon to be known as Emperor Wu, and his arrival sends ripples through the empire like a stone dropped into a still pond. Tonight, we begin our journey with whispers of a new emperor, whispers of ambition, and whispers of a justice so fierce it would shape lives for decades. Settle in, breathe deeply, and let the story unfold like a scroll in the hands of a scholar. The air in Chang'an, the capital, is thick with anticipation. The city is a marvel, its walls towering over bustling streets where merchants barter silk for jade, and ox carts groan under sacks of millet. Lanterns sway in the evening breeze, casting golden light on faces etched with curiosity and caution. The old Emperor Jingdi has passed, and the court is alive with rumors. Who is this boy, this Liu Che, chosen to wear the dragon robe? Some say he's a dreamer, his eyes fixed on the stars, eager to stretch the empire's borders to the edges of the known world. Others murmur of his sharp mind, honed by tutors steeped in Confucian ideals, warning that his youth hides a will of iron in the tea houses and market stalls. People speak in hushed tones, wondering what this new reign will bring. Imagine you're a young scribe named Wei, standing in the shadow of the palace gates. Your hands are stained with ink, your heart heavy with the weight of your duties. You've served the court since you were a boy, copying edicts and recording the emperor's decrees. The news of Liu Che's ascension reaches you as you sit at your low wooden desk, the flicker of an oil lamp your only companion. You've heard the stories, This new emperor, barely older than you, dreams of an empire that rivals the heavens. But with that dream comes a need for order, for control, and you know what that means. The laws of the Han are strict, rooted in the belief that harmony flows from obedience. To defy the emperor is to defy the will of heaven itself. Wei's life is simple but precarious. Each morning he rises before dawn, slipping through the city's narrow alleys to reach the imperial archives. The streets are alive with the clatter of wooden sandals and the chatter of vendors, but there's a new tension now. The old emperor's reign was steady, predictable, but Liu Che's youth brings uncertainty. As Wei dips his brush into ink, he overhears the senior scribes whispering about the young emperor's plans. They speak of roads to be built, armies to be raised, and laws to be enforced with an unyielding hand. Wei's task today is to copy a new edict, one that sets the tone for Wu's reign. All crimes, no matter how small, will be met with swift justice. His hand trembles as he writes, knowing that these words will ripple outward, touching lives across the empire. Let's step into the countryside now, where a farmer named Li Jun toils in his fields. The sun beats down on his back as he turns the soil, his hands calloused from years of labor. Li Jun has heard of the new emperor, though the news reaches his village like a faint echo. To him the emperor is a distant figure, a godlike presence, who commands the rains and the harvests. But today, a messenger arrives, his horse kicking up dust along the dirt path. The man unfurls a scroll and reads aloud. The emperor demands taxes to fund his ambitions, and any failure to comply will be punished severely. Li Chun's heart sinks. His harvest was poor this year, the rains too sparse, and now he faces a choice: pay the tax and starve, or defy the law and risk everything. The justice of Emperor Wu is not yet fully formed, but its shadow is already long in the court. Liu Che surrounds himself with advisors, men who believe in the power of law to bind an empire together. Confucianism, with its emphasis on duty and hierarchy, is their guide, but Wu's vision is bolder. He wants an empire that endures, a legacy carved in stone and blood. To achieve this, he strengthens the legal system, appointing magistrates who answer only to him. These men are the emperor's eyes and hands, tasked with ensuring that no corner of the empire escapes his will. For someone like Wei, this means more work, more edicts, more names added to lists of the punished. For Li Jun, it means a life where every decision is a gamble. Back in Chang'an, the palace is a world of its own. Silk curtains sway in the breeze, and the scent of sandalwood fills the air. Liu Che, though young, carries himself with the weight of destiny. He listens to his advisors, but his decisions are his own. One of his first acts is to reform the penal code, making punishments clearer and harsher. Theft, once met with fines, now risks exile or worse. Disloyalty, even in words, could mean death. The court buzzes with approval from those who see strength in severity, but Wei, copying these laws, feels a chill. He thinks of his own family, of his sister who once spoke too freely about a corrupt official. The emperor's justice is meant to protect the empire, but to Wei it feels like a storm gathering on the horizon. In the villages, the news spreads slowly but surely. Li Jun hears of a neighbor, a man caught selling grain on the black market to avoid taxes. The punishment was swift. The man was flogged in the village square, his cries echoing as a warning to others. Li Chen's wife, Mei, urges him to pay the tax, to avoid trouble, but the numbers don't add up. They have 3 children, their bellies already empty too often. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the fields, Li Jun stares at the horizon, wondering how far the emperor's reach truly extends. The answer, he fears, is everywhere. This is the world of Emperor Wu's early reign, a world of promise and peril, where ambition and fear walk hand in hand. The young emperor's dreams are vast, but they come at a cost. For every road built, every frontier conquered, there are lives shaped by the weight of his laws. Wei, the scribe, will spend his days recording the emperor's will, his brush of silent witness to history. Li Jun, the farmer, will face choices that test his courage and his heart, and across the empire countless others will feel the touch of a justice system that is as relentless as the man who wields it. As we leave this chapter, let the images linger, the flicker of Wei's lamp, the dust on Li Chen's hands, the distant, a silhouette of the palace against a twilight sky. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, and let's prepare to step deeper into the world of Emperor Wu, where justice waits like a blade in the dark. Picture yourself in the heart of Chang'an, dear listener, as the first light of dawn creeps over the city's towering walls. The air is cool, carrying the scent of dew on stone and the faint sweetness of plum blossoms. It's 141 BCE, and the young Emperor Wu Liu Che has just begun his reign. The empire hums with possibility, but beneath the surface is a tension as heavy as the bronze bells that call the court to order. Tonight, we linger in the shadow of the dragon throne, where a boy emperor bears the weight of a nation's dreams and fears. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the story wrap around you like a gentle breeze. Carrying whispers of power and the cost of ruling an empire, the palace is a labyrinth of polished wood and jade. its corridors alive with the soft shuffle of silk robes and the murmur of advisors. Liu Che, barely 16, sits atop the dragon throne, a seat carved with swirling clouds and fierce dragons, symbols of his divine mandate. To the court, he is the son of heaven, chosen to bridge the mortal, the world, and the divine. But to those who watch closely, he is still a boy, his eyes bright with ambition, his shoulders not yet broad enough to carry the empire's burdens. The weight of the throne is not just in its golden lacquer but in the expectations it holds. Every decision Liu Che makes will ripple outward, from the marble halls of Chang'an to the farthest villages, where farmers like Li Jun toil under the sun. Imagine you're a courtier named Zhang, a man of 30 with a sharp mind and a cautious tongue. You've served the Han court since you were a boy, learning to navigate its politics like a boat on a stormy river. Your role is to advise the emperor, to offer wisdom without overstepping, a delicate dance in a court where a single word can mean exile or worse. This morning, you stand in the great hall, the air thick with incense and tension. Liu Che has summoned his advisors to discuss his vision, an empire that stretches beyond the horizon, united by law and loyalty. But unity, comes at a price. The emperor's tutors, steeped in Confucian ideals, have taught him that order is the foundation of harmony. To achieve it, he must enforce laws that leave no room for defiance. Zhang's heart beats faster as he listens to the emperor speak. Liu Che's voice is youthful but firm, his words painting a picture of roads linking distant lands, armies guarding new frontiers, and a justice system that binds every soul to the empire's will. The advisors nod, their faces a mask of agreement, but Zhang sees the truth in their eyes. Fear. The old emperor Jingdi was predictable, his justice tempered by protectism. Liu Che, though, is different. His ambition is a fire, burning bright but dangerous. Zhang recalls a recent edict, one you, the listener, might imagine Wei the scribe copying in the dim light of his lamp. It declared that all officials must report disloyalty, no matter how small, or face punishment themselves. The court feels like a tightening net, and Zhang wonders how long he can stay afloat. Let's step outside the palace now, to a village where Li Jun, our farmer, kneels in his field. The soil is dry, the harvest thin, and the emperor's new taxes weigh on him like a stone. Last night, by the flickering light of a single candle, Li Jun and his wife, Mei, counted their coins. They have enough to pay the tax, but it will leave their children hungry. Mei's eyes were wet with worry, her voice soft as she begged him to comply. The emperor's men are watching, she whispered. They always are. Li Jun nodded, but his heart rebelled. He's heard stories of others who resisted, men flogged in the village square, their families shamed. The emperor's justice is distant but inescapable, a shadow that stretches even to this quiet corner of the empire. Back in the palace, Liu Che faces his own struggles. The throne may be divine, but it is also lonely. His mother, the Dowager Empress, watches from the sidelines, her influence a constant pressure. His advisors, like Zhang, offer counsel, but he senses their caution, their fear of speaking too boldly. Liu Che knows he must prove himself, not just to the court but to the empire. He spends long nights studying the classics, memorizing the words of Confucius and the legal codes of his ancestors. Order, he believes, is the key to greatness, but order requires strength, and strength requires fear. So, he sharpens the laws, making punishments swifter and harsher. A thief might lose a hand, a traitor his life. Even nobles, once untouchable, now face the emperor's wrath if they falter. Zhang, standing among the advisors, feels the shift. He remembers a time when justice was a balance, a way to correct rather than destroy. Now it feels like a blade, sharp and unforgiving. Last week a minor official was exiled for failing to report a cousin's careless words about the emperor. The man's family was stripped of their land, left to beg in the streets. Zhang saw them as he passed through the city, their eyes hollow, their voices silenced. He wonders if this is the harmony Liu Che seeks, or if the boy emperor is building something else, a machine of control that grinds down anyone who strays out in the countryside. Li Jun makes his choice. He will pay the tax, though it means tightening their belts. As he hands over the coins to the village headman, he feels a part of himself slip away, like soil washed out by rain. The headman, a wiry man with a nervous smile, mutters about the emperor's new roads, how they'll bring wealth to all. But Li Jun sees only the dust on the headman's robe, the fear in his eyes. Even he, a man of some power, knows the emperor's reach is long. The justice system, Li Jun realizes, is not just about punishment. It's about reminding everyone, from farmers to nobles, that the empire is one, and the emperor is its heart. As the sun sets over Chang'an, Liu Che stands on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of lanterns flicker like stars, and the distant hum of life reaches his ears. He is young, but he feels the weight of the throne in his bones. Every law he writes, every punishment he decrees, is a step toward his dream, an empire that will stand for centuries. But in the quiet moments, he wonders about the cost. Does he rule by love or by fear? The question lingers, unanswered, as the night deepens for Zhang the courtier. The day ends with a heavy heart. He returns to his quarters, the echo of the emperor's words still ringing in his ears. For Li Jun, it's the ache of hunger in his children's eyes that keeps him awake, and for countless others across the empire, the whispers of a new emperor carry both hope and dread. This is the world of Emperor Wu, where the dragon throne casts a shadow that touches every life, and justice is the chain that binds them all. If you're finding peace in this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to wander deeper into the empire, where the lore grows sharper and the stakes grow higher. Settle in, dear listener, and let the world around you dissolve into the mists of time. Picture a land vast and vibrant, where golden sunlight spills across rolling hills and the air hums with the rhythm of life. It's 141 BCE, and the Han Empire, under Emperor Wu, stretches like a tapestry woven with threads of silk and steel. Tonight we wander through this land of silk and swords, where beauty and danger walk hand in hand, and the emperor's justice looms like a storm cloud on the horizon. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the sights and sounds of ancient China carry you away. As gentle as a river's flow, the Han Empire is a marvel, a patchwork of bustling cities and quiet villages, of towering palaces and humble mud-brick homes. In Chang'an, the capital, the streets pulse with energy. Merchants shout their wares, offering bolts of shimmering silk that catch the light like water. Carts creak under the weight of rice and barley, while the scent of roasted chestnuts mingles with the tang of dust kicked up by passing horses. The city's walls, built of rammed earth, stand as a testament to the empire's strength, their surfaces warmed by the sun and smoothed by years of wind. Beyond the city, the land unfurls in every direction, emerald fields where farmers bend low, mountains that pierce the clouds, and rivers that gleam like silver under the moon. Imagine you're a young woman named Mei Ling, a weaver in a small town not far from Chang'an. Your days are spent at a wooden loom, your fingers dancing over threads of silk as fine as a spider's web. The work is delicate, almost meditative, and the soft clack of the loom is a rhythm that steadies your heart. Your town is a speck in the empire's vastness, a cluster of homes nestled between a willow-lined river and a hill dotted with peach trees. Life here feels timeless, tied to the seasons, planting in spring, harvesting in autumn, and gathering by the fire in winter. But even here, the emperor's presence is felt. His edicts, carried by messengers on horseback, arrive like ripples in a pond, stirring the calm of your world. Mei Ling's life is woven into the fabric of the empire. The silk she crafts is destined for the markets of Chang'an, perhaps even for the emperor's court, where nobles drape themselves in colors that shimmer like jade and crimson. But silk is only half the story. The empire is also a land of swords, where soldiers patrol the roads and magistrates enforce the law with an iron hand. Last week a traveler passed through Mei Ling's town, his face weathered and his eyes wary, over a bowl of millet porridge at the local inn. He spoke of the emperor's new decrees, taxes to fund roads and armies, and punishments for those who falter. The emperor's justice is swift, he said, his voice low. A man in my village was flogged for hiding a single sack of grain. In Chang'an, the pulse of the empire beats strongest. Let's step into the shoes of Wei, our scribe, as he moves through the city's crowded streets. His work in the imperial archives keeps him tethered to the palace, but today he's been sent to deliver a scroll to a magistrate's office. The city is a sensory feast, the chatter of vendors, the clink of bronze coins, the laughter of children chasing a stray dog. Yet beneath it all, Wei senses a current of unease. He passes a wooden platform in the market square, where a thief was punished yesterday. The crowd had gathered, silent, as the whip cracked and the man's cries echoed. Wei averted his eyes, but the sound lingered, a reminder of the emperor's unyielding law. Back in the countryside, Mei Ling hears similar stories. Her neighbor, an old man named Chen, speaks of a time when justice was softer, when a village elder might settle disputes with words rather than chains. Now, the emperor's magistrates ride into towns like hers, their robes as dark as storm clouds, their scrolls heavy with commands. Chen tells Mei Ling about a friend, a potter, who was fined for selling flawed bowls. Unable to pay, he was sent to labor on the emperor's new roads, far from home. Mei Ling's fingers pause on her loom as she listens, the silk threads trembling in her hands. She wonders how such a distant emperor can cast such a long shadow. The empire's beauty is undeniable, but it's laced with danger. The roads that carry silk to distant lands also carry soldiers, their armor glinting like the swords at their sides. These roads, part of Lu Che's grand vision, are meant to bind the empire together, linking Chang'an to the deserts of the west and the mountains of the south. But they also carry the emperor's justice, swift and unforgiving. In a village far from Mei Ling's, a man named Bo, a blacksmith, learned this the hard way. He was late delivering horseshoes for the imperial army, delayed by a broken forge. The punishment was immediate, 50 lashes in the village square. Bo survived, but his spirit was broken, his hammer now striking with less force. As if the emperor's law had drained his strength. In Chang'an, Wei feels the same weight. His days are spent copying edicts that grow harsher with each passing month. The emperor, he hears, is driven by a vision of greatness, but greatness demands sacrifice. Wei's brush moves across the bamboo slips, recording names, crimes, and punishments. A merchant fined for shortchanging a customer, a soldier exiled for deserting his post, a noble stripped of his title for questioning the emperor's policies. Each stroke of Wei's brush feels heavier, as if the ink itself carries the pain of those it names. He wonders about the people behind these names, their lives unraveling under the emperor's gaze. Mei Ling, too, feels the empire's pulse. Her silk is a small thread in the emperor's grand tapestry, but it comes at a cost. The taxes on her family's small plot have doubled, and her brother, a cart driver, whispers of joining a band of outlaws to escape the emperor's reach. Mei Ling begs him to stay, her voice soft but urgent. The emperor's men are everywhere, she says, echoing the fears of countless others. The land of silk and swords is a place of beauty, but it's also a place where one wrong step can lead to ruin. As night falls, Chang'an glows with the light of 1,000 lanterns, and the countryside settles into quiet. Mei Ling sits by her loom, the soft clack of wood a lullaby. Wei returns to his quarters, his hands stained with ink, his mind heavy with the day's work. Across the empire, from the palaces to the fields, the people feel the emperor's presence, a ruler whose ambition is as vast as the land itself, and whose justice is as sharp as the swords that guard it. If you're enjoying this journey through the Han Empire, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into this world, where the emperor's laws shape every heart and every home. Breathe deeply, dear listener, and let the world slip away as we drift back to the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the young Emperor Wu's reign is taking root. Imagine a quiet evening in Chang'an, the capital, where the glow of lanterns dances on the city's walls, and the air carries the faint scent of charcoal and jasmine. Beyond the city, fields stretch under a starlit sky, and the rivers murmur secrets of a vast and ancient land. Tonight, we explore the foundation of Emperor Wu's justice, the law of heaven and earth, a code woven from Confucian ideals that binds every soul to the emperor's will. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the story unfold like a scroll, its ink still fresh with the weight of a new era. The Han Empire is a world of order, or so it strives to be. At its heart is Confucianism, a philosophy that sees the emperor as the son of heaven, a bridge between the divine and the mortal. To Liu Che, the boy emperor, this is more than tradition, it's a mandate. His tutors, gray-bearded scholars, with eyes like polished stones, have drilled into him the teachings of Confucius. Harmony comes from hierarchy, from each person knowing their place. The emperor rules, the officials serve, the farmers toil, and the laws ensure no one strays. But these laws are not mere words on bamboo slips. They are the threads that hold the empire together, as vital as the rivers that feed its fields. To defy them is to defy heaven itself, and Emperor Wu is determined to make this clear. Picture yourself as Wei, our scribe, hunched over your desk in the imperial archives. The air is heavy with the smell of ink and dust, and your oil lamp casts flickering shadows on the walls. Your task today is to copy a new set of legal codes, each line a command from the emperor himself. The words are precise, almost poetic in their clarity. Theft will be met with flogging or exile, disloyalty with death, and negligence with fines that can ruin a family. As your brush moves, you feel the weight of these laws. They are not just rules but a vision of an empire where every action aligns with the emperor's will. You pause, your hand trembling, as you write of a punishment for speaking ill of the court. Your sister's careless words from months ago echo in your mind, and you pray they never reach the wrong ears. In a village far from Chang'an, Li Jun, our farmer, feels the law's presence like a storm cloud. He stands in his field, the sun warm on his face, the earth rough under his feet. Yesterday, a magistrate passed through, his black robes billowing as he read from a scroll. The emperor's new codes, he announced, demand absolute obedience. Taxes must be paid on time, crops reported accurately, and any hint of rebellion crushed. Li Jun listened, his heart sinking. His harvest is thin, barely enough to feed his family, and the tax collector is due tomorrow. The magistrate spoke of harmony, of the emperor's divine role, but to Li Jun it feels like a chain tightening around his neck. He wonders how heaven can demand so much from a man with so little. The law of heaven and earth is rooted in Confucianism, but Emperor Wu shapes it to his own ends. His advisors, men like Zhang, our cautious courtier, whisper of balance of laws that guide rather than destroy. But Liu Che is young, his ambition a fire that burns hotter than wisdom. He sees the empire as a body, with himself as its heart, and the laws as its veins, carrying his will to every corner. In the palace, he meets with his chief minister, a stern man named Li Si, whose eyes are as sharp as the sword at his side. Li Si argues for harsher punishments, believing fear will keep the empire strong. A single spark of defiance, he says, can burn down a dynasty. Liu Che listens, his young face unreadable, but his silence speaks of agreement. Let's walk with Mei Ling, our weaver, as she carries a bundle of silk to the market in her town. The path is lined with willows, their branches swaying in the breeze, and the air hums with the chatter of neighbors. But today, the market is quieter, the usual laughter muted. A wooden post stands in the center, its base stained dark from a recent flogging. Mei Ling overheard the story. A young man, caught selling untaxed silk, was lashed 20 times. His cries echoed through the town, a warning to all. As Mei Ling sets up her stall, her hands tremble. She's always paid her taxes, but the new laws demand detailed records of every bolt she weaves. One mistake, one misstep, and she could face the same fate. In Chang'an Wei's work grows heavier. The legal codes he copies are not just words but lives, each line a farmer like Li Jun, a weaver like Mei Ling, or a merchant whose name will soon be erased. The emperor's vision is clear, an empire where no one dares to stray, but Wei sees the cracks in this vision. Last week a colleague, a scribe like him, was punished for a smudged character in an edict. The man was fined a month's wages, a sum he couldn't pay. Now, he labors on the emperor's roads, far from his family. Wei's brush hovers over the bamboo, his heart racing. The law is meant to protect the empire, but it feels like a weight pressing down on everyone, even those who serve it. Back in the countryside, Li Jun makes a choice. He will pay the tax, though it means selling a precious ox. As he leads the beast to market, its warm flank brushing against his hand, he feels a pang of loss. The ox has plowed his fields for years, a partner in his struggle, but the emperor's law leaves no room for sentiment. The magistrate's words echo in his mind. The Son of Heaven sees all. Li Jun wonders if heaven truly watches, or if it's just the emperor's men, their eyes cold and their scrolls heavy with commands. He passes the village square, where the flogging post stands like a silent judge, and quickens his pace. In the palace, Luce studies a map of his empire, its borders marked in red ink. He dreams of a legacy that will outlast him, of roads that stretch to the stars, of an empire united by law. But even he feels the weight of his choices. His advisors praise his strength, but their voices carry a tremor. The law of heaven and earth is his creation, but it's also a burden, a chain that binds not just his people but himself. As night falls, he stands alone, the palace quiet except for the distant toll of a bell. Across the empire, the law shapes lives. For Wei, it's the fear of a single mistake. For Li Jun, it's the loss of his ox. For Mei Ling, it's the shadow of the flogging post. The law of heaven and earth is a promise of order, but it's also a warning. Step carefully, or the emperor's justice will find you. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step deeper into the empire, where the law grows sharper and the human cost grows clearer. Settle in, dear listener, and let the world around you fade into the gentle hush of the past. Picture a small room in the heart of Chang'an, where the air is thick with the scent of ink, and the soft glow of an oil lamp casts flickering shadows on the walls. It's 141 BCE, and the Han Empire is stirring under the young Emperor Wu's ambitious reign. Tonight, we linger with Wei, our scribe, whose trembling hand holds the weight of the emperor's words. His life, like so many others, is shaped by the relentless tide of imperial law. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let this story wrap around you like a warm shawl, carrying you into a world of duty and quiet fear. Wei's days begin before dawn, when the city is still cloaked in darkness. He rises from his thin mat, the chill of the floor biting at his bare feet. His small home, a cramped room in a courtyard shared with other scribes, is silent, except for the distant crow of a rooster. He dresses quickly, pulling on a worn robe, and steps into the streets of Chang'an. The city is waking, its alleys alive with the clatter of wooden carts and the murmur of early risers. Wei's destination is the Imperial Archives, a vast hall, where the Empire's records are kept, scrolls and bamboo slips that hold the heartbeat of Emperor Wu's reign. His work is simple but vital: to copy the Emperor's edicts, to preserve the law in ink as black as night. Imagine your Wei, standing at your low wooden desk, a brush in your hand, and a stack of bamboo slips before you. The lamps flame, dances, casting light on the characters you must transcribe. Each stroke is a prayer for precision, for a single mistake could bring disgrace or worse. The edict you're copying today is one of many, but its words are sharp. Those who fail to report disloyalty shall share the traitor's fate. The Emperor's new laws are clear: loyalty is not enough. You must prove it, watch for it, report it, report it. Wei's heart races as he writes, his sister's voice echoing in his memory. She once laughed about a corrupt official, her words careless, in the safety of their home. Now those words feel like a stone in his chest. The archives are a world of their own, a maze of shelves and scrolls where scribes work in near silence. The only sounds are the scratch of brushes and the occasional cough of an older colleague. Wei's supervisor, Master Chen, a stern man with a face like weathered wood, patrols the rows, his eyes missing nothing. Last month, a scribe named Liang was punished for a smudged character in an edict. The error was small, but the Emperor's justice is not. Liang was fined, his wages gone, and now he labors on the emperor's new roads, far from his wife and child. Wei glances at his own work, checking each character twice, his hand trembling with the fear of a similar fate. Outside, the empire moves on. Let's step into the countryside for a moment, where Li Jun, our farmer, feels the same weight. Yesterday, he sold his ox to pay the emperor's tax, and now his fields lie fallow, his plow idle. His wife, Mei, tries to comfort him, her voice soft as she stirs a pot of thin porridge. "We'll manage," she says, but her eyes betray her worry. The village is abuzz with stories of the emperor's laws, carried by travelers and enforced by magistrates. A neighbor, caught hiding a portion of his harvest, was flogged in the square, his cries a warning to all. Li Jun thinks of Wei, the scribe he's never met, whose hand writes the laws that bind him. To Li Jun, the emperor's justice is a distant force, but its grip is as real as the hunger in his children's bellies. Back in Chang'an, Wei's day stretches long. The archives are cold, the stone floor leaching warmth from his feet. He pauses to stretch his cramped fingers, glancing at the other scribes. They are a quiet lot, each lost in their own work, their own fears. Wei knows their stories, men like him, bound to the emperor's service, their lives tied to the precision of their brushes. One scribe, an older man named Hao, once shared a story over a rare cup of tea. He spoke of a time before Emperor Wu, when the archives were less tense, when a mistake might earn a reprimand but not ruin. Now, Hao's hands shake too, not from age but from the knowledge that the emperor's eyes are everywhere. Wei's thoughts drift to his sister Zhu, who lives across the city. She's a seamstress, her fingers nimble with needle and thread. Last year she spoke too freely about a tax collector who demanded extra coins. Wei hushed her, his heart pounding, but the memory lingers. The new laws demand that even whispers of disloyalty be reported. If Wei heard such words today, would he turn her in? The thought makes his stomach churn. He dips his brush in ink, forcing himself to focus. The characters flow, each one a link in the chain of the emperor's justice. But with every stroke he feels the weight of his role, not just a scribe but a cog in a machine that crushes as easily as it creates. In the palace, Emperor Wu is a distant figure, yet his presence fills the archives. Wei has never seen him, but he imagines a young man with fierce eyes, seated on a throne that gleams like polished jade. The emperor's advisors, men like Zhang, our courtier, speak of his vision, an empire united by law, where no one dares to defy the Son of Heaven. But Wei wonders about the cost. He's heard of villages stripped bare by taxes, of families torn apart by punishments. His brush pauses, ink dripping onto the bamboo. He wipes it quickly, heart racing, praying Master Chen didn't see. The emperor's justice spares no one, not even those who serve it. As the day ends, Wei steps into the twilight streets of Chang'an. The city is alive with the glow of lanterns and the chatter of vendors, but Wei feels apart from it all. His hands, stained with ink, ache from hours of writing. He thinks of Li Jun, toiling in his fields, and of Mei Ling, weaving silk under the same laws he transcribes. Their lives are different, yet bound by the same thread, the emperor's will, written in Wei's trembling hand. He passes the market square, where a wooden post stands, a silent reminder of the floggings that keep the empire in line. The air is cool now, the stars bright above. But Wei feels no peace. Across the empire, the law of heaven and earth takes hold. For Wei, it's the fear of a single mistake, the weight of each character he writes. For Li Jun, it's the loss of his ox, the hunger in his home. For countless others, it's the knowledge that the emperor's justice is always watching, always waiting. The Han Empire is a land of silken swords, but it's also a land of trembling hands, where even the smallest act carries the weight of an empire. If you're finding peace in this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to wander deeper into this world, where the emperor's justice grows ever more relentless. Drift with me, dear listener, into the heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the sun hangs low over fields of swaying millet. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of earth and the distant hum of cicadas. Emperor Wu's reign is still young, but his laws are already carving paths through the lives of his people, as sharp and unyielding as a blade through silk. Tonight, we walk with Li Jun, our farmer, whose world is about to shatter over a single, desperate act. This is a story of survival, of choices made under pressure, and of the brutal price of a stolen grain. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, soft as a whisper, yet heavy with the weight of justice. Li Jun kneels in his field, the soil dry beneath his calloused hands. The harvest has been poor, the rains too scarce, and the emperor's taxes have taken nearly all he had. His ox is gone, sold to pay the collector, and now his plow sits idle, a useless relic in a world that demands more than he can give. His wife Mei moves quietly in their small home, her hands stirring a pot of thin gruel. Their 3 children, their faces pale with hunger, watch her with wide eyes. The village is quiet tonight, the usual chatter of neighbors muted by the weight of new laws. Li Jun feels it too, a tension that clings like damp cloth, a fear that the emperor's eyes are everywhere, even in this remote corner of the empire. Imagine your Li Jun, standing at the edge of your field as dusk settles. The stars are just beginning to pierce the sky, and the air carries the faint sweetness of wildflowers. You've worked these fields since you were a boy, learning from your father how to coax life from the stubborn earth. But now the earth betrays you, and the emperor's demands press harder than ever. Yesterday you passed the village granary, its wooden walls guarded by a stern-faced official. The granary is full, stocked with the village's harvest to feed the emperor's armies and officials. Your family's share was small, barely enough for a month, and now it's nearly gone. The thought gnaws at you. A handful of grain, just enough to fill your children's bellies, could mean the difference between hunger and hope. The idea comes like a whisper in the dark. The granary's guard is old, his eyes heavy with sleep after a long day. You've seen him nod off before, his head dipping as the night deepens. A single sack, slipped from the stores, would be unnoticed, or so you tell yourself. You think of May, her hands trembling as she portions out the last of the gruel. You think of your youngest, a girl of 5, whose laughter has grown quiet. The emperor's laws are strict, you know this. The flogging post in the village square stands as a warning. It's wood-stained with the pain of others, but hunger is a sharper blade, and love for your family cuts deeper than fear. In Chman Wei, our scribe sits at his desk, his brush moving over bamboo slips. The emperor's latest edict is clear. Theft from imperial stores is a crime against the Son of Heaven, punishable by flogging, exile, or death, depending on the scale. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, his mind drifting to stories he's heard from farmers, merchants, even officials, all caught in the emperor's net. He thinks of his sister Zhu and her careless words, and he prays she stays silent. The archives are quiet, the air thick with the weight of the laws he transcribes. Each character feels like a stone, building a wall between the emperor's will and the lives it touches. Back in the village, Li Jun makes his choice. Under the cover of night, he slips toward the granary, his heart pounding like a drum. The guard is asleep, his snores soft in the stillness. Li Jun's hands shake as he eases open the door, the creak of wood louder than thunder in his ears. He takes a small sack, just a handful of millet, and tucks it under his robe. The weight is light, but it feels like a mountain. He hurries home, the stars above, indifferent to his crime. May is awake, her eyes wide with fear when she sees the grain. Li Jun knows she whispers, but he hushes her, pouring the milk into a clay jar. For one night their children will eat. Morning comes, and with it, disaster. The guard, roused by a passing merchant, notices the missing sack. Word spreads quickly, and the village headman, a nervous man with a pinched face, calls a meeting in the square. Li Jun stands among his neighbors, his heart a knot of dread. The magistrate arrives by midday, his black robe a stark contrast to the sunlit fields. He questions each household, his voice cold as he lists the punishments for theft: 50 lashes for a first offense, exile for a second, death for a third. Li Jun's hands clench, his palms slick with sweat. He thinks of denying it, but the headman's eyes linger on him, and he knows someone saw him in the night. The magistrate's verdict is swift. Li Jun is led to the flogging post, his wrists bound with coarse rope. The crowd is silent, their faces a mix of pity and fear. May stands at the edge, her hands covering her mouth, her eyes wet with tears. The whip cracks and pain sears through Li Jun's back, each strike a reminder of the emperor's reach. He grits his teeth, refusing to cry out, but by the 10th lash, his strength falters, and a low moan escapes. The village watches, the air heavy with the scent of dust and blood. When it's over, Li Jun slumps to the ground, his body trembling, his spirit bruised but unbroken. In Chang'an Wei hears of such punishments. A new name appears on his bamboo slips: Li Jun, farmer, flogged for theft. Wei's brush pauses, his mind painting a picture of a man not unlike himself, caught in the empire's unyielding grip. He wonders about Li Jun's family, about the hunger that drove him to steal. The emperor's justice is meant to protect, to ensure order, but Wei sees only lives unraveling. He thinks of his own sister, of the laws he writes, and feels a chill. The law of heaven and earth is a grand ideal, but its price is paid in pain. Li Jun returns home, his back raw, his steps slow. May tends to him, her hands gentle as she applies a salve of crushed herbs. Their children huddle close, their eyes wide with questions they don't dare ask. The stolen grain sits in its jar, a bitter reminder of the cost. Li Jun knows he was lucky. Exile or death could have been his fate. But as he lies on his mat, the pain pulsing with every breath, he wonders if survival is worth this price. The emperor's justice has left its mark, not just on his body, but on his soul. Across the empire, stories like Li Jun's echo. The law of heaven and earth binds the land, but it also breaks it, one life at a time. For Wei, it's the weight of his brush. For Li Jun, it's the scars on his back. For countless others, it's the fear that lingers, a shadow cast by a boy's dreams. If you're finding peace in this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step deeper into the Han Empire, where the Emperor's justice tightens its grip. Drift gently, dear listener, into the quiet folds of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air hums with a soft rustle of bamboo. Picture a grove just outside a small village, where slender stalks sway under a crescent moon, their shadows dancing on the earth like whispered secrets. Emperor Wu's reign is young, but his laws are already a tide, sweeping through cities and fields alike. Tonight, we linger in the shadows with those who watch and listen, and informants whose quiet words fuel the Emperor's justice. This is a tale of whispers, of trust broken, and of lives caught in the web of suspicion. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the story unfold. As soft as a breeze through the bamboo, yet heavy with the weight of fear, the village of Wayan lies. Nestled between rolling hills and a winding river, its houses modest, their roofs thatched with straw. By day, it's a place of simple rhythms, farmers tending fields, weavers at their looms, children chasing each other through dusty lanes. But at night, the village grows quiet, as if holding its breath. The Emperor's laws have reached even here, carried by magistrates and enforced by fear. Everyone knows, the edicts, theft, disloyalty, even careless words can bring punishment, and in a world where the Emperor's will is law, there are those who make their living by listening, by reporting, by turning neighbor against neighbor. Imagine your Mei Ling, our weaver, sitting by your loom in the dim light of a single candle. The air smells of wax and the faint sweetness of the willow trees outside. Your hands move steadily, threading silk as fine as a spider's web, but your mind is restless. Last week, the village square saw a flogging Li Jun, the farmer, punished for stealing a sack of grain. His cries still echo in your thoughts, a reminder of the Emperor's reach. But what unsettles you more is the whisper that someone in the village reported him, a neighbor perhaps, or a friend, their eyes sharp, and their words sharper. You glance at the door, wondering who might be listening, who might carry your words to the magistrate. In Chang'an, our scribe, feels the same unease. His days in the imperial archives are long, his brush tracing the Emperor's edicts with a precision born of fear. But lately, he's noticed a new kind of document: reports from informants. Their words written in hurried, slanted characters. These are not the grand decrees of the Emperor, but the quiet betrayals of ordinary people. A merchant who spoke ill of the taxes, a scholar who questioned the Emperor's policies, a farmer like Li Jun caught in a moment of desperation. Wei's task is to record these reports, to make them official, to set the wheels of justice in motion. Each name he writes feels like a stone in his heart, but he has no choice. To hesitate is to invite suspicion. Let's step into the bamboo grove now, where a man named Shen moves silently, his steps as light as a cat's. Shen is an informant, a shadow in the village of Wayan. By day, he's a peddler selling herbs and trinkets from a cart that creaks under its load. But by night, he listens. He lingers in the inn, nursing a cup of millet wine, his ears tuned to careless words. He sits in the market, his smile warm but his eyes cold, noting who buys too little or complains too much. Shen wasn't always this way. Once, he was a farmer like Li Jun, his hands rough with soil, but a bad harvest and a heavy tax left him with nothing, and the magistrate offered a way out: report disloyalty, and earn enough to survive. Now Shen's life depends on the secrets he gathers, each one a coin in his pocket and a weight on his soul. Shen knows the village well. He knows Mei Ling, whose silk is prized in the market. He knows Li Jun, whose scars are still fresh from the flogging post. And he knows old Chen, the storyteller who gathers children under the village's ancient oak, spinning tales of better days. Last night, Shen overheard Chen muttering about the Emperor's taxes, his voice low but bitter. "The Son of Heaven takes more than heaven itself," Chen said, unaware of Shen's presence in the shadows. Now, as Shen walks through the bamboo grove, his mind races, reporting Chen could earn him a handful of coins, enough to buy rice for a month. But Chen is kind. His story is a comfort to the village. Shen's heart twists, but hunger is a cruel master, and the Emperor's justice is crueler still. In Chang'an Wei transcribes another report, this one from a village called Wayan. The name is unfamiliar, but the story is not. An old man accused of slandering the Emperor's laws. The punishment is exiled, a long march to the western frontier. Wei's brush moves, but his thoughts drift to his sister, Xu. She's been quieter lately, her laughter muted since the new laws took hold. Wei knows why. She's heard the stories of informants, of neighbors turning on neighbors. He wants to warn her, to beg her to guard her words, but even that feels dangerous. The Emperor's eyes are everywhere, carried by men like Shen, whose whispers keep the archives filled out back in Wayan. Shen makes his choice. He slips into the magistrate's office at dawn, his voice low as he reports old Chen's words. The magistrate, a man with a face like carved stone, nods and hands Shen a small purse of coins. Shen leaves quickly, the weight of the coins heavy. In his hand, the weight of his betrayal heavier still. By midday, soldiers arrive in the village, their armor clinking as they march to Chun's home. The old man is dragged to the square, his wrists bound, his eyes wide with confusion. The village gathers, silent, as the magistrate reads the charge: disloyalty to the emperor. Chen's punishment is exile, a journey few survive. Mei Ling watches, her heart pounding, her hands clutching her shawl. She wonders who betrayed him, who listened in the dark. Li Jian, still healing from his own punishment, stands at the edge of the crowd. He sees Chen's frail form, his white hair tangled, and feels a surge of anger. He knows the emperor's justice is meant to protect the empire, but it feels like a blade that cuts without care. He thinks of the stolen grain, of the hunger that drove him to it, and wonders how many others will fall to the whispers of men like Shen. The soldiers lead Chen away, his steps faltering, and the village feels emptier, as if a piece of its heart has been taken. Chang En-wei finishes his work, the report on old Chen now part of the emperor's records. He steps into the evening, the city alive with lanterns and laughter, but he feels none of it. The bamboo grove, far from Chang'an, is a world he'll never see, but its echoes reach him through the names he writes. The emperor's justice is a web, and men like Shen are its threads, binding the empire with fear. Wei thinks of his sister, of Li Jun, of old Chen, wonders how many more names will fill his scrolls. The Han Empire is a land of beauty, of silk and starlight, but it's also a land of whispers, where trust is fragile and betrayal is a currency. For Mei Ling, it's the fear of speaking too loudly. For Li Jun, it's the scars that remind him of the cost. For Shen, it's the coins in his pocket and the shame in his heart. And for Wei, it's the trembling of his hand, writing the laws that bind them all. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to wander deeper into the empire, where the emperor's justice grows ever tighter. Drift softly, dear listener, into the heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the morning sun casts long shadows across the stone-paved streets of Chang'an. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of fresh-cut wood and the faint temps of ink from the imperial archives. Emperor Wu's reign is a rising tide, his laws shaping the land like a sculptor's chisel. Tonight, we follow the magistrate, a man named Gao, whose cold verdicts enforce the emperor's will, leaving marks on lives as indelible as ink on bamboo. This is a story of duty, of judgment, and of the human cost of justice. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale wrap around you, gentle as a breeze, yet heavy with the weight of power. Gao is a man of 40, his face lined from years of service, his eyes sharp as the blade he carries at his side. He rides into a village called Weian, his black robe billowing like a storm cloud, his horse's hooves kicking up dust on the dirt path. The villagers watch from their doorways, their faces a mix of fear and resignation. Gao is no stranger. Here, his visits are as regular as the harvest, each one bringing the emperor's law to life. Today, he carries a scroll sealed with the imperial mark, its contents a list of crimes and punishments. His role is simple: to judge, to sentence, to ensure the Son of Heaven's will is done. But beneath his stern exterior, Gao feels the weight of his task, a burden that grows heavier with each verdict. Imagine your Gao dismounting in the village square, the flogging post looming like a silent judge. The air smells of straw and sweat, and the crowd is quiet, their eyes avoiding yours. You've seen this before: villages like Weian, where the people work hard but struggle under the emperor's taxes. You know their stories. Farmers like Li Jun, who stole a sack of grain and paid with his flesh. Old men like Chen, exiled for careless words. Your job is to enforce the law, to keep the empire's order, but each verdict feels like a stone added to a pile that threatens to crush you. Today, you're here for a new case. A woman accused of hiding untaxed silk, a crime that could mean flogging or worse. In Chang'an Wei, our scribe, sits at his desk, his brush moving over bamboo slips. His copying Gao's latest report, a record of punishments delivered in villages across the empire. The words are cold, precise: names, crimes, sentences. Wei's hand is steady now, hardened by months of work, but his heart is not. He reads of a woman in Wei and Mei Ling, accused of hiding silk. Her name is familiar: she's a weaver, her work prized in the market. Wei thinks of his sister Zhu, a seamstress whose hands are not so different from Mei Ling's. The thought makes his chest tighten, but he writes on, knowing that Gao's verdict will soon be final, etched into the empire's memory. Back in Weian, Mei Ling stands before Gao in the village square. Her hands are clasped tightly, her knuckles white, her eyes fixed on the ground. She's known for her silk, its threads so fine they shimmer like moonlight on water. But the emperor's laws demand records of every bolt, every coin, and Mei Ling missed a tally in her haste to feed her family. The accusation came from Shen, the informant, his words whispered to the headman under the cover of night. Mei Ling denies it, her voice trembling but firm. I paid my taxes, she says, every coin I could, but the evidence, a hidden bolt of silk found in her home, is damning. Gao listens, his face unreadable, his heart a battleground of duty and doubt. Gao knows the law by heart. Theft from the emperor, even indirectly, is a crime against heaven. The punishment is clear: 20 lashes for a first offense, exile for a second. He looks at Mei Ling, her slight frame trembling in the morning light, and thinks of his own daughter, safe in Chang'an. The emperor's justice is meant to protect the empire, to ensure its strength, but Gao wonders if it breaks more than it builds. He's seen the flogging post too many times, heard the cries, smelled the blood. Yet he is the emperor's hand, and his duty is absolute. He raises his voice, the verdict ringing out. Mei Ling, weaver, guilty of concealing imperial goods, 20 lashes. The crowd gasps, a soft sound like wind through bamboo. Li Jun, still bearing the scars of his own punishment, stands at the edge, his fists clenched. He remembers the whip, the pain that burned through him, and his heart aches for Mei Ling. She's led to the post, her wrists bound, her face pale but proud. The first lash falls and she flinches, but she doesn't cry out. The second brings a sharp gasp, the third, a muffled sob. By the 10th, her strength falters, and the crowd looks away, unable to bear the sight. Gao watches, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the scroll as if it could anchor him. He tells himself this is justice, that order demands sacrifice. But the words feel hollowed in Chan. Yan Wei records the verdict, his brush steady but his mind racing. Mei Ling's name joins the others: Li Jun, Old Chen, countless more, each a life touched by the emperor's law. He thinks of the magistrates like Gao, men who carry the weight of these decisions. Wei has never met Gao, but he imagines a man hardened by duty, his heart buried beneath layers of obedience. The archives are quiet, the other scribes bent over their work, but Wei feels the weight of their shared task. They are the keepers of the emperor's will. Their ink a chain that binds the empire together. In Wei Mei Ling is released, her back raw, her steps unsteady. Her brother, a cart driver, helps her home, his face a mask of anger and grief. The village is quieter now, the air heavy with unspoken questions. Who betrayed Mei Ling? Was it Shen, the peddler, whose cart is suspiciously full of rice? The villagers avoid each other's eyes, trust eroding like soil after a flood. Li Jun visits Mei Ling that evening, bringing a small jar of salve. They sit in silence. The pain of their shared scars a bond stronger than words. Mei Ling whispers, the emperor's justice spares no one. Li Jun nods, his heart heavy with the truth. Gao rides out of Huayan at dusk, his horse's hooves a steady rhythm on the road. He tells himself he's done his duty, that the empire is stronger for it. But as the village fades behind him, he sees Mei Ling's face, her eyes defiant even in pain. He thinks of the emperor, a boy whose dreams are vast but whose laws are cruel. Gao's role is to enforce, not to question, but the questions come anyway. How many more floggings, how many more lives? The road stretches ahead, leading to another village, another verdict, another weight on his soul. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of pain. For Mei Ling, it's the scars on her back. For Li Jun, it's the memory of her cries. For Gao, it's the coldness of his own voice, delivering the emperor's will. And for Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, each stroke a reminder of the lives he records. The magistrate's verdict is a stone in the river of justice, sending ripples through the empire, touching every heart, every home. If you're enjoying this journey through the Han Empire, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into this world, where the emperor's justice cuts ever sharper. Drift gently, dear listener, into the vast expanse of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the sun burns low over a dusty road that stretches like a ribbon across the land. The air is thick with the scent of dry earth and the faint, metallic tang of armor. Emperor Wu's reign is a fire kindling, his laws spreading like sparks, and nowhere is this felt more keenly than on the imperial roads or tories of the empire, carrying trade, soldiers, and the weight of justice. Tonight, we walk these roads, where blood stains the dust, and public executions serve as grim reminders of the emperor's unyielding will. Settle in, close your eyes, and let this tale wrap around you, soft as a whisper, yet heavy with the cost of order. The imperial roads are marvels, carved through mountains and plains to bind the empire together. They carry silk to distant markets, grain to feed armies, and edicts to enforce the emperor's law. But they also carry fear, for these roads are where justice is displayed, where the emperor's wrath is made visible. In villages along these routes, wooden platforms stand, their surfaces worn by weather and stained by blood. Public executions, floggings, beheadings, or worse are not hidden in dark cells but performed in the open, where all can see, where all can learn. The emperor's justice is not just punishment, it's a lesson, written in pain for every passerby to read. Imagine you're a merchant named Hao, your cart laden with pottery as you travel the road to Chang'an. The wheels creak, the dust clings to your robe, and the sun beats down on your weathered face. You've made this journey before, your wares sold to nobles and scribes in the capital. But today, the road feels different. A crowd gathers ahead, their murmurs low, their eyes fixed on a platform by the roadside. You slow your cart, your heart sinking as you see the soldiers, their spears glinting in the light. A man bound and kneeling awaits his fate. His crime, you hear, was rebelling, whispered plans to defy the emperor's taxes. The punishment is death, and the road will bear witness. In Chang'an Wei, our scribe sits at his desk in the imperial archives, his brush tracing the details of such punishments. The bamboo slips before him tell a story of order maintained through fear. Today he records the execution of a man named Deng, a laborer accused of inciting others to resist the emperor's laws, where his hand is steady but his mind wanders to the road where Deng's life ended. He's heard of these spectacles, crowds forced to watch their silence a testament to the emperor's power. Wei thinks of his sister Zhu and her quiet defiance, and he prays her words never reach the ears of men like Shen, the informant whose whispers fill his scrolls. Back on the road, Hao stands at the edge of the crowd, his hands gripping the reins of his ox. The man Deng is young, his face pale but defiant. The executioner, a broad-shouldered soldier with a face like stone, raises his sword. The crowd is silent, the air heavy with the scent of fear and dust. Hao wants to look away, but he can't. The emperor's justice demands witnesses. The sword falls, and a gasp ripples through the crowd, followed by a stillness that feels like a held breath. Deng's body slumps, the dust turning dark beneath him. The soldiers disperse, leaving the platform empty, but the lesson lingers. Etched into the minds of all who saw, Hao hurries past, his cart rattling over the uneven road. He's seen executions before, thieves flogged, traitors beheaded, but each one leaves a mark, a weight that settles in his chest. He thinks of his own life, the taxes he pays, the records he keeps to avoid suspicion. The emperor's roads are a lifeline, carrying his pottery to market, but they're also a trap, lined with platforms where justice is served. Hao wonders about Deng, about the desperation that drove him to rebellion. Was it hunger, like Li Chun's? Was it anger, like old Chun's? The road offers no answers, only the crunch of gravel under his wheels and the distant cry of a hawk. In Weiyan, Mei Ling hears of the execution, the news carried by a traveler passing through the village. She sits by her loom, her hands still, the silk threads trembling in the candlelight. The traveler speaks of the road, of the blood that stained it, of the crowd's silence. Mei Ling's own scars, fresh from her flogging, ache as she listens. She thinks of Li Jun, whose punishment she witnessed, and of old Chen, exiled for his words. The emperor's justice feels like a storm, sweeping across the empire, sparing no one. She wonders who reported Deng, who stood in the shadows and whispered to the magistrate. The village feels smaller now, its trust frayed like old cloth. In Chang'an, Wei's work continues, his brush moving over bamboo slips. The execution of Deng is just one entry among many, but it stays with him. He imagines the road, the platform, the crowd's fear. He thinks of Gao, the magistrate, whose cold verdicts he records. Wei has never seen an execution, but he feels their weight in the names he writes. Each one is a life, a story cut short by the emperor's law. He wonders about the men like Hao, who witnessed these acts, and about the villages like Weiyan where fear grows like weeds. The archives are quiet, but Wei's thoughts are loud, filled with the faces he'll never see, the blood he'll never touch. On the road, Hao reaches a small inn as night falls, the air cool and the stars bright. He ties his ox, his hands shaking as he unloads his cart. The innkeeper, a wiry man with a cautious smile, offers him a bowl of millet porridge. They talk in low voices, avoiding mention of the execution, but the weight of it lingers. Hao thinks of the emperor, a boy in a distant palace, whose laws to shape every step of this road. He wonders if Lu Che knows the cost blood on the dust, fear in the hearts of his people. The porridge is warm, but it does little to ease the chill in Hao's bones. In Weiyan, Li Jun visits Mei Ling, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. They sit in silence, the memory of their own punishments a bond between them. Li Jun thinks of the road, of the stories he's heard, of the blood that marks the empire's paths. He feels the scars on his back, a reminder of his own brush with justice. The emperor's laws are meant to protect, to unify, but to Li Jun they feel like chains, binding him to a life of fear. He looks at Mei Ling, her face pale in the candlelight, and wonders how many more will fall to the emperor's wrath. The imperial roads are the empire's lifeblood, but they are also its scars. For Hao, they are a path to market and a stage. For death, for Mei Ling, they are a reminder of the emperor's reach. For Wei, they are a story written in ink and blood, and for countless others, they are a warning. The emperor's justice is swift, and no one escapes its shadow. If you're finding peace in this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice grows ever more relentless. Slip softly, dear listener, into the twilight of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air carries the scent of damp earth and fading jasmine. The stars are emerging, faint pinpricks above a village called Weiyan, where lanterns glow like fireflies in the gathering dark. Emperor Wu's reign is a rising tide, his laws tightening like a noose around the lives of his people. Tonight, we linger with a widow named Zulan, whose desperate plea for mercy tests the heart of the emperor's justice. This is a story of loss, courage, and a fragile hope that dares to challenge the law. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold. gentle as a sigh, yet heavy with the weight of a broken heart. Zulan's home is a small, weathered hut at the edge of Wayan, its walls patched with mud and straw. She is 40, her hair streaked with gray, her hands rough from years of washing clothes by the river. Her husband died 2 winters ago, taken by a fever that swept the village, leaving her to raise their son Dao alone. Dao is 16, a wiry boy with his father's quick smile, who works as a laborer on the emperor's new roads. Their life is hard but steady, built on the rhythm of work and the warmth of their small hearth. But the emperor's laws cast a long shadow, and Zulan's world is about to unravel over a single desperate act. Imagine your Zulan, standing in your doorway as dawn breaks, the air cool and the village still asleep. You're waiting for Dao, who should have returned last night from his work on the road. He's been gone for days, longer than usual, and worry gnaws at your heart like a hungry rat. You've heard the stories of laborers punished for slacking, of villagers trembling under the emperor's edicts. Dao is a good boy, hard-working but spirited, and you fear his quick tongue may have drawn the wrong attention. As the sun rises, a neighbor hurries to your door, her voice low. Zulan, she whispers, Dao's in trouble. The magistrate's men took him. Your heart stops, the world tilting beneath you in Chang'an Wei. Our scribe sits at his desk in the imperial archives, his brush moving over bamboo slips. The air is thick with the scent of ink and dust, and his lamp flickers as he records the day's reports. A new name appears. Dao, son of Zulan, accused of theft from an imperial worksite. The charge is serious: stealing tools meant for the emperor's roads, a crime against the Son of Heaven. The punishment is exile, a march to the western frontier, where few return. Wei's hand pauses, his thoughts drifting to his sister Zhu, whose name is so close to Zulan's. He imagines a mother's fear, a son's defiance, and feels the weight of the laws he transcribes, each stroke a link in the chain that binds the empire. Back in Wayne, Zulan hurries to the village square, her heart pounding as she weaves through the morning crowd. The magistrate, Gao, is there, his black robe stark against the dusty ground. Dao stands before him, his wrists bound, his face bruised but defiant. The charge is read aloud. Dao stole a hammer from the worksite, a tool meant for the emperor's roads. Zulan's breath Kacheski knows Tao knows he'd never steal for greed. She steps forward, her voice trembling but clear. He didn't steal, she pleads. He took the hammer to fix our roof, to keep us dry. I'll pay for it, I'll work, I'll do anything. The crowd murmurs, but Gao's face is stone, his eyes fixed on the scroll in his hand. Gao listens, his heart a battleground of duty and doubt. He's delivered countless verdicts, each one a stone in the foundation of the emperor's order. But Zulan's plea cuts deeper than most. He sees the desperation in her eyes, the love for her son, and thinks of his own daughter in chains. The law is clear. Theft from the emperor demands exile, no exceptions. Yet Zulan's words linger, her offer to take her son's place stirring something in him. He knows the roads, the labor camps where exiles toil until their bodies break. Dao is young, strong, but the frontier is merciless. Gao hesitates, his hand tightening on the scroll, but the emperor's will is absolute. Zulan falls to her knees, her hands clutching Gao's robe. Take me instead, she begs, her voice raw. I'm old, I've lived my life. Let my son stay. The crowd is silent, their eyes wide with shock. Even Dao, defiant until now, shakes his head, his voice cracking. Mother, no. But Zulan's resolve is iron, forged by a mother's love. Gao looks at her, his jaw tight, and for a moment, the square feels like a held breath. He could bend the law, could show mercy. But the emperor's spies are everywhere, men like Shen, whose whispers fill the magistrate's scrolls. To falter is to risk his own position, his own family. In Chang'an Wei records the case, his brush moving with a heaviness he can't shake. He imagines Zulan's plea, her voice echoing across the miles. The report notes her offer to take Dao's place, but the law allows no such substitution. Wei thinks of his own sister, of the fear that keeps her silent, and wonders how many mothers like Zulan beg for mercy, only to be crushed by the emperor's justice. The archives are quiet, the other scribes bent over their work, but Wei feels the weight of every name he writes. Dao's fate is sealed, and Zulan's plea will fade, a whisper lost in the empire's vast machinery. In Wei and Gao delivers his verdict. Dao, son of Zulan, guilty of theft, exile to the western frontier. Zulan's cry pierces the air, sharp as a blade. Dao is led away, his eyes locked on his mother, his lips moving in a silent apology. Zulan collapses, her hands digging into the dust, her sobs a sound that haunts the village. The crowd disperses, their heads bowed, their trust in justice fraying like old silk. Li John, watching from the edge, feels his scars burn, a reminder of his own brush with the law. He wants to comfort Zulan, but words fail him. The emperor's justice is a storm, and no one escapes its reign. Zulan returns to her hut, the silence deafening without Dao's laughter. She sits by the hearth, the fire low, her hands empty. The hammer, the cause of it all, lies in a corner, a useless relic of her son's attempt to help. She thinks of the roads he'll walk, the camps where he'll toil, and wonders if she'll toil and wonders if she'll ever see him again. The village feels colder now, its heart bruised by loss. Mei Ling visits bringing a bowl of rice, but Xulan barely eats. The emperor's laws have taken her son, and her plea, so fierce and desperate, has changed nothing in Chang'an. Wei finishes his work, the name Dao joining the countless others in the archives. He steps into the evening, the city alive with lanterns, but he feels none of its warmth. The imperial roads, the flogging posts, the exile camps, they are all part of the emperor's dream. A dream that leaves blood and tears in its wake. Wei thinks of Xulan, of her plea, and wonders if the Son of Heaven ever hears such cries. The stars above offer no answers, only silence. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of broken hearts. For Xulan, it's the empty hut, and the hammer that cost her everything. For Dao, it's the road to exile, a journey into the unknown. For Dao, it's the weight of a verdict he can't forget. And for Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands. Each stroke a reminder of the lives torn apart by the Emperor's justice. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to wander deeper into the Empire, where the shadow of justice grows ever darker. Drift softly, dear listener, into the vast reaches of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE and the dawn breaks cold over a rugged frontier. The air is sharp with the scent of frost and pine, and the great wall looms like a stone dragon across the northern hills. Emperor Wu's reign is a rising storm, his laws binding the empire with chains of fear and ambition. Tonight, we walk in the shadow of the Great Wall, where soldiers stand guard and the emperor's justice cuts deeper than the wind. This is a story of duty, defiance, and the brutal cost of desertion. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a snowfall, yet heavy with the weight of sacrifice. The Great Wall is a marvel, its stones laid by countless hands to shield the empire from nomadic tribes beyond. It stretches across mountains, its watchtowers piercing the sky, a testament to the emperor's will. Soldiers patrol its length, their armor clinking in the dawn, their breath visible in the chill. These men are the empire's shield, but they are also its prisoners, bound to a life of hardship by the emperor's command. The wall is not just a barrier against enemies, it's a line where loyalty is tested, and any step away from duty invites the emperor's wrath. Desertion, in this unforgiving land, is a crime that carries a heavy price. Imagine you're a soldier named Jin, stationed at a watchtower on the wall's western edge. You're 22, your hands rough from wielding a spear, your face weathered by wind and sun. You joined the army to escape a life of poverty, hoping for honor, perhaps even a small plot of land one day. But the wall is a harsh master. Days are long, the nights colder, and the rations barely enough to keep hunger at bay. Your comrades are weary, their laughter replaced by grumbles about the emperor's endless demands: more patrols, more towers, more taxes to fund it all. You think of your family a day's ride south, and wonder if they're safe, if they're fed. The thought of desertion flickers in your mind, a dangerous spark on Chang'an. Wei, our scribe, sits at his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush moves over bamboo slips, recording the fates of men like Jian today. He writes of a soldier accused of desertion, a man who fled his post on the Great Wall. The punishment is clear: death by beheading, a public spectacle to deter others. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, imagining the soldier's fear, the cold stone of the wall, the moment of defiance that led to his doom. He thinks of his sister Zhu and her quiet rebellion, and prays she never crosses the emperor's law. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life ended by the emperor's justice. Back at the wall, Jian's spark of defiance grows. Last night he overheard his captain, a grizzled man named Liang, speak of the emperor's new edicts. No mercy for deserters, Liang said, his voice low. The emperor wants fear to keep us here. Jian thinks of his mother, alone in their village, her health fading. He was supposed to send her money, but his wages are late, swallowed by the empire's endless needs. The wall feels like a cage, its stones closing in. In a moment of desperation, Jian slips away at midnight, his heart pounding as he descends the rocky path, the stars above his only witnesses. He tells himself he'll return after seeing his mother, but deep down, he knows the risk. In Wei and Mei Ling hears whispers of soldiers punished on the wall. She sits by her loom, her scars still tender from her own flogging, and listens as a traveler speaks of a deserter caught near the frontier. The man was executed, his head displayed on a spike to warn others. Mei Ling's hands pause, the silk threads trembling. She thinks of Tao, Xulan's son, exiled to the frontier, and wonders if he's near the wall, laboring under the same harsh laws. The emperor's justice feels like a tide, washing over soldiers and villagers alike, leaving no one untouched. She glances at her door, fearing the whispers of informants like Shen, whose betrayal cost her so much. Jian's freedom is short-lived. By dawn, a patrol finds him hiding in a cave, his breath ragged, his eyes wide with fear. The soldiers drag him back to the wall, their grips bruising, their faces hard. The captain Liang looks at Jian with a mix of pity and anger. "You knew the law," he says, his voice heavy. Jian nods, his throat tight, thinking of his mother, of the home he'll never see again. The punishment is swift. A platform is set up near the watchtower, its wood stained from past executions. The soldiers gather, their faces grim, as Jian is led forward, his wrists bound. The crowd is small, only those on duty, but the message is clear. Desertion is death. In Chang'an Wei records the verdict, his brush moving with a heaviness he can't shake. Jian's name joins the others. Deng Dao. Countless more reach a life snuffed out by the emperor's law. Wei imagines the wall, its stones cold and unyielding, and the soldier who dared to run. He thinks of Gao, the magistrate whose verdicts he records, and wonders if Gao ever questions the blood he spills. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei feels the echoes of the frontier, the weight of lives lost to the emperor's dream of order. At the wall, the execution is quick. The sword falls, and Jian's life ends, his blood seeping into the dust. The soldiers disperse, their steps heavy, their eyes avoiding the platform. Liang, the captain, lingers, his hand on his spear, his thoughts dark. He's seen too many. Desert, rebels, men broken by the wall's demands. He serves the emperor, but the cost grows heavier each day. The Great Wall stands tall, a symbol of strength, but to Liang it's a graveyard, its stones marked by the blood of men like Jian, Dotun, Wei and Li. Joan hears of the execution, the news carried by a passing merchant. He sits with Mei Ling, their shared scars, a silent bond. The wall is far, but its shadow reaches them, a reminder of the emperor's reach. Li Jun thinks of his own punishment, of Zulan's loss, and feels the weight of a world where justice is a blade. He wonders how many more will fall, how many more will bleed on the imperial roads or in the shadow of the wall. The Great Wall is the empire's shield, but it's also its altar, where loyalty is tested and lives are sacrificed. For Jian, was a fleeting hope, crushed by the emperor's law. For Liang, it's a duty that erodes his soul. For Wei, it's a name on a bamboo slip, a story he'll never fully know. And for the empire, it's a warning. The Son of Heaven sees all, and his justice spares no one. If you're finding peace in this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice casts an ever longer shadow. Glide softly, dear listener, into the bustling heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the morning sun glints off the tiled roofs of Chang'an's marketplace. The air is alive with the scent of spices, the clatter of coins, and the hum of voices haggling over silk and jade. Emperor Wu's reign is a growing flame, his laws weaving a net of order across the land. But in the markets, ambition and risk dance a dangerous dance. Tonight, we follow how our merchant, as he navigates a world where a single bargain could mean wealth or ruin. This is a story of trade, temptation, and the emperor's unrelenting justice. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a market breeze, yet heavy with the weight of choices. The marketplace in Chang'an is a tapestry of color and sound, its stalls overflowing with goods from across the empire, of shimmering silk, jars of fragrant tea, and pottery glazed in hues of emerald and amber. Merchants shout their wares, their voices rising above the creak of ox carts and the laughter of children darting through the crowd. The imperial roads, stretching from the capital to the farthest frontiers, feed this market, carrying wealth and dreams. But they also carry the emperor's laws, enforced by magistrates and whispered by informants. To trade in Chang'an is to walk a tightrope where every deal is a gamble, and the emperor's justice waits for those who fall. Imagine your Hao, our merchant, standing behind your store, your hands smoothing the rim of a clay pot. You're 30, your face lined from years of travel, your eyes sharp from counting coins and reading faces. Your cart, now empty after a long journey, brought pottery from a southern village, each piece crafted with care. You've built a modest trade, enough to keep your family fed, but the emperor's taxes bite deeper each month. The market is your lifeline, but it's also a battlefield, where every sale must be recorded, every coin reported. A single mistake or a moment of greed could draw the magistrate's gaze. And you've seen what happens to those who stray. Hao's latest deal is risky. A noble, his robe heavy with silk, approached him yesterday, offering a high price for a batch of pottery, but asking for no record of the sale. "Keep it quiet," the noble said, his voice low, his eyes glinting with promise. The coins he offered would pay Hao's taxes for a year, maybe more. But the emperor's laws are clear. All transactions must be reported, and untaxed sales are theft from the Son of Heaven. Hao hesitated, thinking of his wife and daughter, their small home barely warmed by a dwindling fire. The noble's offer is a lifeline, but it's also a trap, baited with the risk of exile or worse. In the imperial archives, Wei, our scribe, bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces the names of merchants caught in the emperor's netmen like Hao, tempted by profit, undone by law. Today he records a case from the market, a trader fined for hiding sales, his goods seized, his family left destitute. Wei's hand is steady, but his heart is not. He thinks of his sister Zhu, a seamstress who works in the same market, her hands stitching robes for the wealthy. The archives are filled with stories of merchants, their ambitions snuffed out by the emperor's justice. Wei wonders about Hao, whose name he hasn't yet written, but whose fate feels close. Back in the market, Hao wrestles with his choice. The noble returns, his purse heavy, his smile sharp. "No one will know," he says, pressing a bag of coins into Hao's hand. The weight is intoxicating, a promise of comfort for his family. Hao thinks of the emperor's roads, where he witnessed Deng's execution, the blood staining the dust. He thinks of the flogging posts, of Mei Ling's scars, of Dao's exile. The market hums around him, but the noise feels distant, drowned by the pounding of his heart. He nods, accepting the deal. The coins hidden beneath his stall. The noble leaves, and Hao tells himself it's just one sale, one secret, one chance to breathe easier. In Weian, Mei Ling hears of the market's dangers. A traveler speaks of a merchant in Chang'an caught hiding sales, flogged in the square. Mei Ling's hands pause on her loom, her own scars aching at the memory of her punishment. She thinks of Hao, whom she met once on his travels, his cart rattling through her village. The emperor's justice is a shadow, stretching from the capital to the smallest towns, sparing no one. Mei Ling wonders if her brother, exiled to the frontier, still lives, and if the market's wealth ever reaches those who toil. The silk in her hands feels fragile like the trust that once bound her village. Hao's secret lasts only a day. An informant, a wiry man with eyes like a hawk. We saw the exchange. His name is Shen, the same peddler who betrayed old Chen and Mei Ling. Shen lingers in the market, his cart a disguise, his ears tuned to whispers of profit. He reports Hao to the magistrate Gao, his words earning a handful of coins. By evening, soldiers arrive at Hao's stall, their spears gleaming. Hao's heart sinks as Gao reads the charge: untaxed sales, a crime against the emperor. The punishment is severe: 50 lashes and the seizure of his goods. Hao's wife, watching from the crowd, clutches their daughter, her sobs lost in the market's din. The flogging is swift, the whip cracking in the square as the crowd falls silent. Hao grits his teeth, each lash a fire across his back, but he thinks of his family, of the coins he hoped would save them. The market, once a place of promise, is now a stage for his shame. Gao watches, his face unreadable, his heart heavy. He's delivered verdicts like this before, but each one chips away at him. He thinks of Zulan's plea, of the lives he's broken, and wonders if the emperor's order is worth his cost. The soldiers drag Hao away, his stall emptied, his dreams shattered. In Chang'an, Wei records the verdict, Hao's name joining the endless list. The archives are quiet, but Wei feels the market's pulse, the pain of men like Hao, whose ambition clashed with the emperor's law. He thinks of his sister, working in the same market, and prays she avoids such traps. The ink stains his hands, each stroke a reminder of the lives he chronicles, lives undone by a single bargain. In Weian, Li Jun hears of Hao's fate, the news carried by a passing trader. He sits with Mei Ling, their shared scars a silent bond. The market, the roads, the wall, all are threads in the emperor's web, binding the empire with fear. Li Jun thinks of his own punishment, of Dao's exile, of Zulan's loss, and feels the weight of a world where every choice is a risk. The market is the empire's heart, but it's also its crucible, where dreams are forged and broken. For Hao, it's the scars on his back and the empty stall he'll never reclaim. For Gao, it's the verdict that haunts him. For Wei, it's the name that stains his bamboo slips. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice sees all, and no bargain escapes its price. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice tightens its grip. Drift gently, dear listener, into the quiet heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in Chang'an carries the scent of ink and burning candles. The city hums softly, its lanterns casting golden pools of light on the stone streets, but beneath this calm lies a current of fear. Emperor Wu's reign is a rising tide, his laws tightening around the minds and tongues of his people. Tonight, we follow a scholar named Liang, whose love for truth clashes with the emperor's demand for silence. This is a story of wisdom, defiance, and the heavy cost of speaking out. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, soft as a scholar's brush, yet heavy with the weight of sacrifice. Chang'an is a city of learning, its halls filled with scholars who study the classics, their voices weaving tales of ancient kings and Confucian virtues. These men are the empire's mind, their words shaping the emperor's policies, their scrolls preserving the wisdom of ages. But under Emperor Wu, knowledge is a double-edged sword. The young emperor, driven by ambition, demands loyalty above all, and his laws silence those who question his path. The archives, where wayworks are filled with edicts that warn of punishment for dissent, flogging, exile, or death for those who speak too freely. For scholars like Liang, this is a cage, binding their thoughts as tightly as their hands. Imagine you're Liang, a scholar of 40, your beard flecked with gray, your eyes sharp from years of reading by lamplight. You teach at a small academy. In Chang'an, your students young men eager to serve the emperor. Your days are spent reciting Confucius, debating the balance of virtue and power, and writing essays that you hope will guide the empire toward harmony. But lately your words are cautious, measured. The emperor's new laws demand that scholars report disloyalty, even among their peers. And you've seen colleagues vanish exiled or worse for questioning the emperor's taxes or wars. Your heart rebels, but your tongue stays silent. A choice that weighs heavier each day. Liang's latest essay, hidden beneath a stack of scrolls, is his defiance. It speaks of justice, of an emperor's duty to his people, and questions the harshness of Wu's laws. You wrote it in secret, your brush trembling as the words flowed, each one a risk, where you think of your students, their eager faces, and wonder if they'll inherit a world where truth is a crime. You've heard of the flogging posts, the executions on the imperial roads, the exiles like Dao sent to the frontier. Your essay is a whisper of resistance, meant for a trusted friend, a fellow scholar named Zhou. But trust is fragile, and the emperor's spies are everywhere. In the imperial archives, Wei, our scribe, bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of dust and ink. His brush traces a new report, a scholar accused of seditious writing, his words deemed disloyal to the emperor. The name is Zhou, and the punishment is exile. Wei's heart sinks as he writes, imagining a man not unlike himself, caught in the emperor's net. He thinks of his sister Zhu and her quiet defiance, and prays she never draws the attention of men like Shen, the informant whose whispers fill his scrolls. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by the emperor's justice. In Chang'an, Liang's secret is betrayed. Zhou, his friend, was questioned by a magistrate, his fear loosening his tongue. He revealed Liang's essay, hoping to save himself. By dawn, soldiers come for Liang, their boots heavy on the academy's wooden floor. Your students watch, their eyes wide, as you're led away, your wrists bound, your scroll clutched in the magistrate's hand. The charge is read in the city square: seditious writing, a crime against the Son of Heaven. The punishment is flogging, followed by exile to the southern marshes, a place of fever and despair. You stand tall, your voice silent, but your eyes burn with the truth you cannot speak. The magistrate Gao delivers the verdict, his face a mask of duty. He's seen scholars before, men of words, not swords, broken by the emperor's law. Liang's silence unsettles him, a defiance that speaks louder than words. Gao thinks of Zulan's plea, of Hao's flogging, and feels the weight of his role. The crowd gathers, their murmurs low, as Liang is led to the flogging post. The whip cracks, and Liang flinches, but he doesn't cry out. Each lash is a mark of the emperor's will, a warning to others who dare to think freely. Gao watches his jaw tight, wondering if this is the harmony the emperor seeks. In Wei, Mei Ling hears of the scholar's fate, the news carried by a traveler. She sits by her loom, her scars aching, and thinks of her own punishment, of Dao's exile, of the village's growing silence. The emperor's justice is a blade, cutting through scholars and farmers alike. She wonders about Liang, about the words that cost him so much, and feels a pang of admiration. Her brother, exiled to the frontier, once spoke of fairness, of the world where the emperor listened. Now, Mei Ling weaves in silence, her thoughts her only rebellion. Li Jun, sitting with Mei Ling, listens to the traveler's tale. He thinks of his own scars, of Zulan's loss, and feels the empire's weight. The scholar's silence is a mirror, reflecting the fear that binds them all. He wonders if anyone can speak truth without paying the price. If the emperor's dream of order leaves room for hope, the village feels smaller, its trust eroded, its stories silenced by the fear of informants like Shen. In Chang'an, Wei records Liang's punishment, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the scholar, his silence a protest, his exile a slow death. Wei thinks of his own role, of the ink that binds the empire, and wonders if he's complicit in its pain. The archives are a world of shadows, each scroll a story of loss. He steps into the evening, the city alive with lanterns, but feels none of its warmth. Liang's name lingers, a whisper of defiance in a world that demands silence. Liang is led from the square, his back raw, his steps unsteady. The road to the southern marshes awaits, a journey few survive. He thinks of his students, of the essay that betrayed him, and feels no regret. His silence is his final word, a truth the emperor cannot erase. The crowd disperses, their eyes avoiding his, their hearts heavy with the cost of justice. The Han Empire is a land of wisdom, but it's also a land of silence. For Liang, it's the scars on his back and the marshes that await. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the fear that quiets their village, and for the Empire it's a warning. The Emperor's justice hears all, and no truth escapes its price. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the shadow of justice grows ever darker. Drift softly, dear listener, into the shadowed heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the twilight air in Chang'an hums with the flicker of lanterns and the distant toll of a temple bell. The city breathes with life, its streets alive with the clatter of carts and the murmur of voices. But beneath it all lies a quiet fear, like a current beneath a still river. Emperor Wu's reign is a growing storm, his laws binding the empire with an iron grip, enforced by a network of unseen ICE officials, spies, and informants who carry his will to every corner. Tonight, we follow the threads of this web, where trust is a luxury and every word is weighed. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a whisper, yet heavy with the weight of surveillance. Chang'an is the empire's heart, its palaces gleaming with jade and gold, its markets bustling with silk and spice. But it's also a city of secrets, where the emperor's will is upheld by men who move in the shadows. These are the imperial officials, magistrates like Gao, informants like Shen, and countless others whose names are unknown but whose power is felt. They are the emperor's eyes, watching from the capital to the farthest villages, ensuring that no defiance goes unnoticed, no crime unpunished. Under Emperor Wu, this network is tightening, its threads woven into every life, from the scholar's scroll to the farmer's field. To live in the Han Empire is to know you are never truly alone. Imagine your Shen, our informant, slipping through the streets of Chang'an at dusk. Your peddler's cart, laden with herbs and trinkets, is a mask, hiding your true trade secrets. You're 30, your face unremarkable, your eyes sharp as a hawk's. You once dreamed of a different life, perhaps as a farmer like Li Jun. But debt and hunger drove you to the magistrate's off-report disloyalty, and earn enough to survive. Now, you linger in tea-houses, your ears tuned to careless words, your memory a ledger of whispers. You've betrayed neighbors, friends, even strangers like Liang the scholar, whose exile you caused. Each coin you earn is a weight, but survival is a cruel master, and the emperor's justice is crueler still. Shen's latest task takes him to a tea-house near the market, where merchants and scribes gather over cups of millet wine. The air smells of roasted barley and sweat, and the chatter is lively but cautious. Shen listens, his smile easy, his heart cold. A scribe, not Wei but one like him, mutters about the emperor's taxes, his voice low but bitter. The son of heaven takes more than heaven itself, he says, echoing old Shen's words from Wei-in. Shen's pulse quickens. This is the kind of talk that earns coins. He notes the scribe's face, his robe, the way he grips his cup. By morning, Shen will report to the magistrate, and another name will join the emperor's ledgers. In the imperial archives, Wei bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, a scribe accused of seditious speech, reported by an unnamed informant. The name is unfamiliar, but the story is not another life caught in the emperor's web. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, thinking of his sister Zhu, who works in the market, her tongue as quick as her needle. He's heard of the emperor's eyes, the officials who watch, the informants who listen. The archives are a world of silence, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by a whisper. He wonders if Shen, whose reports he records, ever feels the cost of his betrayals. In Wei-in, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars a constant ache. The village is quieter now, its trust eroded by the emperor's unseen eyes. She thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and of Liang, the scholar whose silence cost him everything. A traveler brought news of Chang'an's tea-houses, where words are as dangerous as swords. Mei Ling's hands pause, the silk threads trembling. She remembers Shen, the peddler whose cart rattles through the village, his smile too wide, his eyes too sharp. She wonders if he betrayed her, if he reported her hidden silk, and feels a chill. The emperor's justice is a shadow, cast by eyes she cannot see. Li Jun visits Mei Ling, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. They sit in silence, their shared scars a bond. Li Jun thinks of his own punishment, of Zulan's plea, of the blood on the imperial roads. The emperor's eyes are everywhere, carried by men like Shen whose whispers tear the village apart. Li Jun wonders if he can ever speak freely again, if the empire's order is worth his fear. The village feels like a cage, its walls invisible, but unyielding, built by the emperor's unseen watchers. In Chang'an, Shen returns to the magistrate's office, his purse heavier with coins. The scribe's name, now reported, will soon reach the archives, then the executioner's platform. Shen tells himself it's just work, just survival, but the weight of his choices grows heavier. He thinks of Wayne, of old Chen's exile, of Mei Ling's flogging, and feels a pang of shame. But the emperor's justice leaves no room for regret. Report or be reported. Shen slips back into the city, his cart creaking, his heart a quiet storm. In the palace, Emperor Wu studies a map, his young face lit by candlelight. He knows of his network, his unseen eyes, and believes they strengthen the empire. His advisors, men like Zhong, praise the system, but their voices carry a tremor. The emperor is young, his ambition vast, but even he feels the weight of his laws. He wonders if fear can truly build loyalty, if order can exist without trust. The map shows roads, walls, and cities, but not the lives caught in his web. The heart silenced by his eyes. In Wei and Gao, the magistrate, rides through, his black robe a stark contrast to the village's green fields. He carries reports from informants like Shen, each one a verdict waiting to be delivered. He thinks of Zulan, of Liang, and feels the burden of his role. The emperor's eyes are his eyes too, and every judgment he makes is a link in the chain. He wonders if the empire's strength is worth its pain, but duty silences his doubts. The emperor's unseen eyes are the empire's strength, but they are also its shadow. For Shen they are coins and shame. For Wei they are names on bamboo slips. For Mei Ling and Li Jun they are the fear that quiets their village, and for the empire they are a warning. The Son of Heaven sees all, and no secret escapes his justice. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice weaves an ever tighter web. Glide softly, dear listener, into the quiet heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening settles over the village of Weian like a heavy cloak. The air is cool, carrying the scent of damp straw and the faint smoke of cooking fires. Emperor Wu's reign is a growing shadow, his laws binding the empire with fear as much as order. Tonight, we linger in Weian, where a village once alive with laughter and trust now trembles under the weight of collective punishment. This is a story of community, betrayal, and a fear that swallows all. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a fading ember, yet heavy with the cost of justice. Weian is a small village, its houses clustered around a winding river, its fields stretching toward hills dusted with dusk. By day it hums with live farmers like Li Jun tending crops, weavers like Mei Ling at their looms, children chasing each other through willow-lined paths. But now, as night falls, the village is silent, its heart bruised by the emperor's laws. The flogging post in the square stands as a grim reminder, its wood stained with the pain of Li Jun, Mei Ling, and others. The emperor's justice, enforced by magistrates and whispered by informants like Shen, has turned neighbor against neighbor, sowing fear where trust once grew. Imagine your Mei Ling, sitting by your loom in the dim light of a single candle. The air smells of wax and the faint sweetness of the river outside. Your scars, still tender from your flogging, ache as you weave, each thread a reminder of the emperor's reach. The village has changed since your punishment, since Dao's exile, since old Chen's banishment. Conversations are hushed now, eyes averted, smiles rare. You think of Li Jun, whose own scars mirror yours, and of Zulan, whose plea for her son still echoes in your heart. The village feels like a fragile web, torn by the emperor's unseen eyes, and you wonder if it can ever mend. The latest blow comes at dawn. A magistrate, Gao, rides into Weian, his black robe stark against the morning light. His soldiers carry a scroll, its words heavy with the emperor's will. The village gathers in the square, their faces pale, their hands clasped tightly. Gao's voice is cold as he reads. A group of villagers has been accused of hiding grain from the imperial tax collectors, a crime against the Son of Heaven. The evidence, whispered by an informant, points to several households, including Li Chun's. The punishment is collective. Every family in Weian will lose half their harvest, a penalty to ensure no one dares defy the emperor again. The crowd gasps, their murmurs, a mix of fear and anger. Li Jun stands at the edge, his heart pounding. He paid his taxes, sold his ox to do so, but the emperor's justice does not distinguish between the guilty and the innocent. Collective punishment is a tool of control, a way to bind the village in shared fear. He thinks of his children, their bellies already empty, and feels a surge of despair. Mei Ling beside him clutches her shawl, her eyes wide with disbelief. She knows the informant's work. Shen, the peddler whose cart rattles through the village, his smile a mask for betrayal. The accusation feels like a stone, crushing the village's fragile spirit. Cheng Wei, our scribe, bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces the details of Weian's punishment, the words cold and precise: collective penalty for tax evasion, half the village's harvest seized. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, imagining the faces behind the names Li Jun, Mei Ling, countless others. He thinks of his sister Zhu Chang and his market, and prays she escapes such a fate. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every village, every life touched by the emperor's law. He wonders about Gao, the magistrate, whose verdicts he records, and whether he ever questions the pain he inflicts. In Weian, Gao delivers the verdict with a heavy heart. He's seen villagers like this before, their spirit broken by the emperor's justice. He thinks of Zulan's plea, of house flogging, of Liang's exile, and feels the burden of his role. The villagers' eyes are on him, some pleading, some defiant, but he knows his duty. The emperor's unseen eyesmen like Shen watch him too, ensuring he does not falter. Gao orders the soldiers to begin the seizure, their boots trampling the fields as they take the grain. The villagers watch, their silence a protest, their fear a chain that binds them. Mei Ling returns to her hut, her loom untouched, her heart heavy. The loss of half her harvest means hunger, perhaps starvation, for her family. She thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and wonders if he knows how the village suffers. She imagines Shen, his cart full of rice bought with betrayal, and feels a flicker of anger. But anger is dangerous, and the emperor's eyes are everywhere. She sits in silence, the candle's flame flickering. The villagers trust a memory fading like smoke. Li Jun too feels the weight. His fields, already bare from a poor harvest, are now emptier still. He thinks of his children, of Mei's quiet strength, and wonders how they'll survive the winter. The village square, once a place of laughter and stories, is now a place of fear, its flogging post a constant threat. Li Jun visits Xulan, whose hut is colder without Tao. They sit together, their shared loss is a bond, their words few. The emperor's justice has swallowed their village, leaving only fear in its wake. In Chang'an, Wei finishes his work, the name Wayne joining the countless others in the archives. He steps into the evening, the city alive with lanterns, but feels none of its warmth. He imagines the village, its fields stripped, its people broken. He thinks of Shen, whose whispers fuel the emperor's justice, and wonders if he feels the cost. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Wayne, of lives crushed by collective punishment. In Wayne, Gao rides out at dusk, his horse's hooves a steady rhythm on the road. He tells himself the emperor's order, it is necessary, that fear ensures loyalty. But the villagers' faces Li Chan's clenched fists, Mei Ling's quiet despair linger in his mind. He wonders if the emperor, a boy in a distant palace, knows the cost of his laws. The road stretches ahead, leading to another village, another verdict, another weight on his soul. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of fear. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the empty fields and the silent square. For Xulan, it's the loss of her son and her village's heart. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, each stroke a story of suffering. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice spares no one, and even a village can be swallowed by its shadow. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice leaves no corner untouched. Glide softly, dear listener, into the shadowed depths of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the morning sun casts a pale light over the stone walls of Chang'an. The air carries the scent of charcoal and the faint sweetness of plum blossoms, mingling with the tension that hums through the city like a taut bowstring. Emperor Wu's reign is a growing force, his laws forging an empire of order, where loyalty is the currency of survival. Tonight, we explore the iron hand of loyalty, where obedience to the emperor shapes every verdict, every life, and every heart. This is a story of duty, sacrifice, and the unrelenting grip of the Son of Heaven. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold. Gentle as a whisper, yet heavy with the weight of allegiance. In the heart of Chang'an, the imperial palace stands like a mountain, its roofs gleaming under the sun, its halls echoing with the footsteps of officials. Emperor Wu, still a boy of 16, sits on the dragon throne, his eyes fierce with ambition. His advisors, men like Zhong, our cautious courtier, speak of loyalty as the foundation of the empire, a bond that ties every subject to the emperor's will. But loyalty is not merely given. It is demanded, enforced by laws that leave no room for doubt. Magistrates, soldiers, and informants are the emperor's hands, ensuring that every act, every word, aligns with his vision. To falter is to invite punishment, and in this empire, loyalty is both shield and chain. Imagine Yu Zhang standing in the great hall, your silk robe heavy with the weight of protocol. You've served the court for years, your words carefully, chosen to avoid the emperor's wrath. Today, Lu Che speaks of his dreams: roads to the west, armies to guard the frontiers, and laws to bind the empire's heart. But his latest edict is stark: all officials must prove their loyalty by reporting any hint of disloyalty, even among their peers. Failure to do so is a crime, punishable by exile or death. You think of your friend, a fellow courtier named Feng, whose quiet grumbling about taxes reached your ears last night. To report him is to betray him. To stay silent is to risk your own life. Your heart races, the emperor's eyes both real and unseen watching your every move. In the imperial archives, Wei, our scribe, bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, an official accused of failing to report a colleague's disloyalty. The name is Feng, and the punishment is exile to the northern frontier. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, imagining a man like Zhong, caught in the emperor's web. He thinks of his sister Zhu, in Chang'an's market, her tongue quick but her heart loyal. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by the demand for loyalty. He wonders about the officials, the magistrates, like Gao, who enforce these laws, and whether they ever question the cost. In Weian, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars a constant reminder of the emperor's justice. The village is still reeling from the collective punishment, its fields stripped, its trust shattered. She hears of Chang'an's court, of officials punished for silence, and feels the empire's grip tightening. She thinks of Dao, her brother, exiled to the frontier, and of Zhulan, whose plea for her son was ignored. The emperor's demand for loyalty feels like a storm, sweeping through villages and cities alike, sparing no one. Mei Ling's hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she wonders if loyalty to the emperor means betraying her own heart. Li Jun, sitting with Mei Ling, shares her silence. His fields are bare, his children hungry, and the village's spirit is broken. He thinks of the flogging post of Dao's exile, of the informant Shen, whose whispers fuel the emperor's justice. The demand for loyalty is a chain, binding him to a life of fear. He remembers a time when the village was a community, its people united by shared harvests and stories. Now, loyalty to the emperor divides them, turning neighbors into spies. Li Jun wonders if there's any loyalty left for each other or if the emperor's iron hand is crushed at all. In Chang'an, Zhang makes his choice. He reports Feng, his friend, to the magistrate, his voice steady but his heart breaking. The words spill out, recounting Feng's grumbling about taxes, each one a betrayal. The magistrate Gao listens, his face unreadable, and nods. Feng is summoned, his fate sealed before he can defend himself. Zhang watches as his friend is led away, his eyes filled with shock and hurt. The punishment is exile, a long march to the frontier, where cold and hardship await. Zhang tells himself it was necessary, that loyalty to the emperor comes first. But the words feel hollow, like ash in his mouth. Gao, delivering the verdict, feels the weight of his role. He's seen too many fall farmers like Li Jun, weavers like Mei Ling, scholars like Liang, and now officials like Feng. The emperor's demand for loyalty is absolute, but it leaves no room for mercy. Gao thinks of Zhulan's plea, of house flogging, and wonders if loyalty can exist without trust. He knows the emperor's eyesmen like Shen are watching him, too, ensuring he does not falter. The verdict is given, and Feng is led from the hall, his footsteps echoing like a fading heartbeat. In the archives, Wei records Feng's fate, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines Zhang torn between friendship and duty, and feels a pang of sympathy. The emperor's justice is a machine, driven by loyalty, oiled by fear. Wei thinks of his sister, of the market where she works, and prays she stays silent. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Chang'an, of Weian, of lives bound by the emperor's will. In Weian, Xulan hears of the official's exile, the news carried by a traveler. She sits in her hut, the fire low, her thoughts on Tao, lost to the frontier. The emperor's demand for loyalty feels like a thief, stealing her son, her village, her hope. She thinks of Mei Ling, of Li Jun, and wonders if they can ever rebuild what was lost. The village is a shadow of itself, its heart swallowed by fear, its people divided by the emperor's iron hand. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of chains. For Zhang, it's the betrayal of a friend, a wound that won't heal. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, each stroke a story of loss. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village they no longer recognize. And for the empire, it's a warning. Loyalty to the emperor is absolute, and no heart escapes its price. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice binds all in its iron grip. Drift gently, dear listener, into the shadowed heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the morning air in Chang'an carries the scent of polished wood and burning incense. The city stirs with life, its streets humming with the clatter of carts and the murmur of voices, but beneath it all lies a quiet tension, like a bowstring drawn tight. Emperor Wu's reign is a rising flame, his laws binding the empire with unyielding force, enforced by magistrates who carried the weight of his will. Tonight, we follow Gao, our magistrate, whose heavy heart bears the burden of the verdicts he delivers. This is a story of duty, doubt, and the human cost of justice. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, soft as a sigh, yet heavy with the weight of judgment. Gao is a man of 40, his face etched with lines from years of service, his eyes shadowed by the weight of his role. As a magistrate, he is the emperor's hand, delivering justice from Chang'an's marble halls to the dusty squares of villages like Weian. His black robe, heavy with silk, is a symbol of authority, but it feels like a chain, binding him to the emperor's will. He has pronounced countless verdicts: floggings for thieves like Li Jun, exile for scholars like Liang, collective punishments for villagers like Weian. Each one is a stone added to a pile that threatens to crush him, a burden he carries in silence as he rides the imperial roads. Imagine your Gao standing in the village square of Wayan, the morning sun warm on your face, the air thick with the scent of straw and fear. The flogging post looms nearby, its wood stained with the pain of those you've judged. Today you face a new case, a farmer named Wei Chen, accused of hiding a portion of his harvest from the emperor's tax collectors. The evidence, whispered by an informant like Shen, is a small cache of grain found buried beneath his hut. The crowd gathers, their eyes averted, their silence a testament to the emperor's reach. Wei Chen stands before you, his hands trembling, his voice pleading, "It was for my children, to keep them from hunger." Your heart twists, but the law is clear. Tax evasion is a crime against the Son of Heaven. In Chang and Wei, our scribe sits at his desk in the Imperial Archives, the air heavy with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces the details of Gao's latest verdict. Wei Chen, farmer, guilty of tax evasion, sentenced to 30 lashes and a fine. Wei's hand is steady, but his heart is not. He imagines the village square, the whips crack, the farmer's cries. He thinks of his sister Zhu in Chang'an's market, and prays her quick tongue never draws a magistrate's gaze. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life touched by Gao's judgments. He wonders if Gao ever hesitates, if the magistrate's heart aches as much as the scribe's. Back in Wayan, Gao delivers the verdict, his voice cold but his chest tight. Wei Chun's plea echoes those he's heard before. Zhu lands for her son, Mei Ling's, for her innocence. The farmer's eyes are desperate, his children watching from the crowd, their faces pale with hunger. Gao knows the law. 30 lashes to deter others, a fine to remind the village of the emperor's power. But as he speaks he sees his own daughter in Chang'an, safe for now, and wonders how many families he's broken. The whip falls, and Wei Chun's cries pierce the air, each one a wound in Gao's heart. The crowd is silent, their fear a heavy fog. And Gao feels the emperor's eyes, those unseen watchers like Shen judging him as he judges others. Mei Ling watches from the edge of the square, her scars aching from her own flogging. She thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and of Li Jun, whose scars mirror hers. The village is a shadow of itself, its fields stripped by collective punishment, its trust eroded by informants. Wei Chun's punishment is another blow, another reminder that the emperor's justice spares no one. Mei Ling wonders if Gao, the man in the black robe, feels the pain he inflicts, or if his heart is as cold as his voice. She clutches her shawl, her hands trembling, and prays for the day when Wayan can heal. Li Jun stands beside Mei Ling, his fists clenched, his scars burning with the memory of his own punishment. He knows Wei Chen, a quiet man who shared his militaire during lean times. The farmer's cries echo Li Chun's own, and he feels a surge of anger not at Wei Chen, but at the emperor's laws, at the informants who betray, at the magistrates who judge. He thinks of Zhu Lan, alone in her hut, and wonders if the village can survive another loss. The emperor's justice is meant to unify, but to Li Jun it feels like a blade, cutting through the heart of Huo. In Chang'an, Gao returns to his quarters after a long journey, the dust of the road still clinging to his robe. He sits alone, a cup of tea untouched, his thoughts heavy. He sees Wei Chun's face, hears his plea, and feels the weight of every verdict he's delivered. He thinks of Zulan's desperate offer to take her son's place, of Hao's flogging in the market, of Liang's exile to the marshes. Each one is a stone in his heart, a burden he cannot share. The emperor's laws demand loyalty, but Gao wonders if loyalty can exist without mercy. He knows the unseen eyes watch him too, ensuring he does not falter, but the cost grows heavier each day. In the archives, Wei records Wei Chun's punishment, his brush moving with a heaviness he can't shake. He imagines Gao, the magistrate, standing in the square, his voice steady but his heart troubled. Wei thinks of his own role, of the ink that binds the empire, and wonders if he's complicit in its pain. The archives are a world of silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Wayan, of lives broken by the emperor's justice. He steps into the evening Chang'an alive with lanterns, but feels none of its warmth. Wei Chun's name lingers, another story of loss in a land of order. In Wayan, Wei Chun is released, his back raw, his family's future uncertain. His children run to him, their small hands gentle on his arms, but the fine will leave them hungry. Mei Ling visits, bringing a small jar of salve, and Li Jun joins her, their shared scars a silent bond. They sit with Wei Chen, their words few, their grief a heavy presence. The village feels like a wound, its people bleeding from the emperor's laws. They wonder if Gao, the magistrate, knows the pain he leaves behind, or if he's just another cog in the emperor's machine. Gao, alone in Chang'an, stares at the stars, their light cold and distant. He thinks of the emperor, a boy whose dreams are vast but whose laws are cruel. He wonders if Lu Che knows the cost of his justice, the hearts it breaks, the villages it silences. Gao's role is to judge, to enforce, but each verdict chips away at him, leaving a heavy heart that no duty can lighten. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of sorrow. For Gao, it's the weight of every verdict, every cry. For Wei Chen, it's the scars on his back and the hunger in his home. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village they no longer recognize. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice demands everything, and even a judge's heart is not spared. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice weighs on every soul. Drift softly, dear listener, into the vibrant heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the night air in Chang'an glows with the warmth of 1,000 lanterns. The city is alive with the scent of sweet rice cakes and the soft clatter of bamboo, as the Festival of Lanterns transforms the streets into a sea of light. But beneath the celebration, a shadow lingers. Emperor Wu's reign casts a net of fear, his laws tainting even moments of joy with dread. Tonight, we wander through this festival, where beauty and fear intertwine, and the emperor's justice looms like a storm on the horizon. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a lantern's glow, yet heavy with the weight of suspicion. The Festival of Lanterns is a cherished tradition, a night when families light paper lanterns to honor the heavens and pray for prosperity. In Chang'an, the streets are a tapestry of color. Red and gold lanterns swaying in the breeze, their light dancing on the faces of children clutching sticky rice dumplings. Musicians play soft melodies on bamboo flutes, and vendors hawk sesame cakes and jars of millet wine. The air hums with laughter and chatter, a rare moment of warmth in a city bound by the emperor's laws. But even here, the festival is not free from fear. Informants like Shen move through the crowd, their ears tuned to careless words, and magistrates like Gao watch from the shadows, ready to enforce the emperor's will. Imagine your Zhu Wei's sister, a seamstress of 20, weaving through the festival with a lantern in your hand. Your robe, stitched with your own careful hands, catches the light as you move, its threads dyed indigo and crimson. You've always loved this night, the way the lanterns make the city feel like a dream. But this year, the festival feels different. The emperor's laws have tightened, and stories of floggings, exiles, and executions fill the air like smoke. You think of Wei, your brother, hunched over his desk in the archives, and of the punishments he records, lives like Li Chun's, Mei Ling's and Dao's, broken by the emperor's justice. Your tongue, once quick with wit, is cautious now, each word weighed against the risk of betrayal. In the imperial archives, Wei bends over his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. The festival's music drifts faintly through the window, but Wei's world is one of bamboo slips and heavy truths. His brush traces a new report, a man accused of slandering the emperor during the festival. His words overheard by an informant. The punishment is flogging, to be carried out in the city square as a warning to revelers. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, imagining the festival's joy tainted by fear. He thinks of Zhu, dancing through the streets, and prays her laughter doesn't draw the wrong ears. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life caught in the emperor's net. In Weian, Mei Ling joins the village's modest festival, a smaller affair than Chang'an's but no less heartfelt. Lanterns hang from willow branches, their light reflecting on the river, and children giggle as they chase glowing shadows. Mei Ling's scars ache as she lights a lantern for Dao, her brother, exiled to the frontier. The village is quieter now, its spirit bruised by collective punishment and the loss of neighbors like old Chen and Wei Chen. Mei Ling thinks of Li Jun, whose fields lie bare, and of Zulan, whose hut is empty without her son. The festival should be a time of hope, but the emperor's justice casts a shadow, and Mei Ling wonders if Shen, the informant, is watching. Even now, Li Jun stands beside Mei Ling, a lantern in his hand, its light flickering like his hope. He remembers festivals past, when Weian was alive with stories and laughter. Now, the village feels like a ghost, its people wary, their eyes scanning for unseen watchers. Li Jun thinks of his own flogging, of Dao's exile, and of the collective punishment that stripped their fields. The emperor's laws have turned joy into dread, and even the lantern's glow feels fragile, as if a single gust could snuff it out. He glances at Mei Ling, her face soft in the light, and wonders if they'll ever know a festival free from fear. In Chang'an, Zhu weaves through the crowd, her lantern held high. She passes a group of merchants, their voices low as they discuss taxes, their eyes darting nervously. She thinks of how the merchant flogged in the market, and quickens her pace. The festival is beautiful, but it's also a trap, and like Shen blend into the crowd, their smiles hiding their intent. Zhu spots a man she recognizes, his cart parked nearby, his eyes sharp as he listens to a drunken scribe's complaints. Her heart races. She knows Shen's kind, the unseen eyes that fuel the emperor's justice. She moves away, her lantern trembling, her laughter silenced. In the square, Gao, the magistrate, watches the festival from a balcony, his black robe blending into the shadows. He's seen countless celebrations, but this one feels different. The joy undercut by fear. He thinks of his verdicts, Li Chun's flogging, Dao's exile, Wei Chun's punishment, and feels the weight of his role. Tonight he's been summoned to judge a new case, a man accused of slandering the emperor's taxes, his words reported by an Gao's heart is heavy, but his duty is clear. He descends to the square, where the man is brought forward, his wrists bound, his face pale. The crowd falls silent, their lanterns dimming in attention. As Gao reads the verdict, 30 lashes, to be delivered now, the whip cracks, and the man's cries pierce the festival's music, a stark reminder of the emperor's reach. Sue watches from the crowd, her heart pounding, her lantern nearly slipping from her hand. She thinks of the archives where he records such punishments, and feels a surge of fear. The festival, meant to honor the heavens, is now a stage for the emperor's justice, its lanterns casting light on pain. Gao, his voice steady but his chest tight, watches the punishment, his thoughts on the countless lives he's judged. He wonders if the emperor, a boy in a distant palace, knows the cost of his laws, and Wayne Mei Ling and Li Zhong light their lanterns, their prayers for Dao and Wei Chen carried into the night. The village's festival is small, but the fear is vast, a shadow that darkens even the brightest light. They think of Chang'an, of the stories of floggings in the square, and wonder if Weiyan will ever know joy again. The emperor's justice is a tide, washing over cities and villages, leaving dread in its wake. In Chang'an Wei finishes his work, the man's punishment recorded in ink. He steps into the festival, the lanterns bright but the air heavy. He searches for Zhu, hoping to find her safe, her laughter intact. The city is a sea of light, but Wei feels only its shadows. The weight of the emperor's justice pressing on every heart. The festival of lanterns is a moment of beauty, but it's also a moment of dread. For Zhu, it's the fear of a careless word. For Mei Ling and Li Zhong, it's the village they no longer recognize. For Gao, it's the verdict that haunts him, and for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice watches even the brightest nights, and no joy escapes its shadow. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice taints even the light of lanterns. Glide softly, dear listener, into the shadowed heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the night air in a small village near Chang'an hums with the chirp of crickets and the faint glow of a crescent moon. The empire is a tapestry of light and shadow, its beauty woven with fear under Emperor Wu's iron laws. Tonight, we follow a young thief named Kai, whose desperate act in the moonlight tests the emperor's justice and the fragile bonds of his community. This is a story of hunger, risk, and the unrelenting grip of the Son of Heaven. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a moonbeam, yet heavy with the weight of consequence. The village of Linyang lies just beyond Chang'an's walls, its mud brick homes nestled among fields of millet and orchards of peach trees. By day, it's a place of quiet labor, farmers tilling the earth, weavers spinning silk, elders sharing stories under ancient oaks. But at night, the village holds its breath, its people wary of the emperor's laws that have turned trust into suspicion. The flogging post in the village square, its wood stained with the pain of others, stands as a silent warning. Informants like Shen Prao even hear their whispers carrying the emperor's will, and magistrates like Gao ride through, their verdicts swift and unforgiving. Imagine your Kai boy of 15, slipping through Linyang's shadows under the moonlight. Your stomach growls, a hollow ache that has grown sharper each day. Your father, a farmer, fell ill last winter, and the emperor's taxes took the last of your family's grain. Your mother works as a washerwoman, her hands red from the river's cold, but the coins she earns are not enough. You've seen the granary at the village's edge, its wooden walls guarding sacks of millet meant for the emperor's armies. A single handful could ease your family's hunger, could bring a smile to your little sister's face. The thought is a spark, dangerous and tempting, urging you toward the granary's dark silhouette. In Chang'an Wei, our scribe sits at his desk in the imperial archives, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, a theft in Linyang, a boy caught stealing from the imperial stores. The name is Kai, and the punishment is severe 40 lashes and a fine that could ruin his family. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, imagining a boy not much younger than himself, driven by hunger to defy the emperor's law. He thinks of his sister Zhu in Chang'an's market, and prays her quick wit never leads her to such a fate. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life caught in the emperor's net. In Linyang, Kai moves silently, his heart pounding like a drum. The granary's guard, an old man named Bo, dozes under a willow tree, his snores soft in the night. Kai's hands shake as he pries open the door, the creak of wood loud in his ears. He takes a small sack of millet, just enough to feed his family for a week, and slips back into the shadows. The moonlight bathes the village in silver, and for a moment, Kai feels a surge of hope. He imagines his sister's laughter, his mother's relief, but as he hurries home, a figure watches from the darkness. Shen, the informant, his eyes sharp and his smile cold. Shen knows Kai's family, knows their hunger. He's seen the boy's thin frame, his mother's weary eyes, but Shen's own. Survival depends on the emperor's coins earned by reporting crimes like this. He hesitates, his heart flickering with guilt, but the memory of his own hunger drives him forward. By dawn, Shen is at the magistrate's office, his words sealing Kai's fate. The magistrate Gao listens, his face unreadable, his heart heavy. He's judged thieves before Li Jun, how countless others, but a boy's desperation cuts deeper. Gao thinks of his own daughter, safe in Chang'an, and wonders if the emperor's justice leaves room for mercy. In Wei and Mei Ling hears of the theft, the news carried by a traveler passing through. She sits by her loom, her scars aching from her own flogging, and thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and Li Jun, whose scars mirror hers. The emperor's justice is a tide, washing over villages like Linyang and Wayne, sparing no one. Mei Ling imagines Kai, a boy driven by hunger, and feels a pang of sympathy. She wonders if Shen, the peddler whose whispers betrayed her, reported the boy to her. Hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she prays for Linyang for Wayne, for a world where hunger doesn't lead to pain. Li Jun visits Mei Ling, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. They sit in silence, their shared scars a bond, their thoughts on the boy in Linyang. Li Jun remembers his own theft, the flogging that left him scarred, and feels the emperor's justice like a weight on his chest. He thinks of Zhu Lan, alone, without Tao, and wonders if Linyang's people will stand by Kai or turn away, as Wine's did for him. The village feels like a fading echo, its trust eroded by fear, its heart bruised by the emperor's laws. In Linyang, Gao arrives at midday, his black robe stark against the village's green fields. The square fills with villagers, their eyes wary, their silence heavy. Kai is brought forward, his wrists bound, his face pale but defiant. His mother stands at the edge, her hands clutching her shawl, her voice breaking as she begs for mercy. He's just a boy, she pleads. He was hungry. Gao's heart twists, but the law is clear. Theft from the emperor demands punishment. He reads the verdict, 40 lashes. A fine, and the crowd gasps, their fear a fog that chokes the square. The whip falls, and Kai's cries pierce the air, each one a wound in his mother's heart. In Chang'an, Wei records Kai's punishment, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the village square, the boy's cries, the mother's despair. He thinks of Gao, the magistrate, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he feels the pain he inflicts. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Linyang, of lives broken by a single act. He steps into the night, Chang'an's lanterns glowing, but feels none of their warmth. Kai's name lingers, a reminder of the hunger that drives men to defy the emperor. In Linyang, Kai is released, his back raw, his family's future bleak. His mother tends to him, her hands gentle with salve, her tears falling silently. The village, it is quieter now, its people avoiding each other's eyes, their trust frayed by Shen's betrayal. Mei Ling and Li Jun and Wei hear of Kai's fate and feel their own scars burn. They wonder if the emperor, a boy in a distant palace, knows the cost of his laws, the hunger, the pain, the broken lives left in their wake. The Han Empire is a land of beauty, but it's also a land of fear. For Kai, it's the scars on his back and the hunger that lingers. For his mother, it's the plea that went unheard. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice sees even the smallest theft, and no moonlight hides its price. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice spares no soul, not even a thief in the moonlight. Glide softly, dear listener, into the glittering heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in Chang'an hums with the glow of lanterns and the faint scent of sandalwood. The capital is a marvel. Its palace is gleaming with jade, its streets alive with the clatter of carts and the murmur of voices. But beneath its splendor lies a cage, where Emperor Wu's laws bind every soul with fear. Tonight, we linger in Chang'an, where the emperor's justice traps even those who serve him, and lives unraveled under the watchful eyes of the court. This is a story of ambition, betrayal, and the suffocating weight of loyalty. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a silk thread, yet heavy with the cost of living in the capital. Chang'an is the empire's crown, a city of towering walls and bustling markets, where nobles in silk robes walk alongside scribes and merchants. The imperial palace, with its golden roofs and dragon-carved pillars, is the heart of power, where Emperor Wu, a boy of 16, dreams of an empire that stretches to the stars. But the capital is also a cage, its beauty laced with danger. The emperor's laws are strictest here, enforced by magistrates, informants, and the unseen eyes of the court. Every word, every act, is weighed, and even the powerful tread carefully, knowing that a single misstep could mean ruin. Imagine your Zheng, our courtier, standing in the great hall of the palace, your silk robe heavy with the weight of protocol. You're 30, your sharp mind honed by years of navigating the court's intrigues. You've seen friends fall exiled for grumbling, Liang the scholar, sent to the marshes for his words. The emperor's latest edict demands absolute loyalty, requiring officials to report even the slightest hint of disloyalty, on pain of exile or death. You think of your wife and son, safe in your modest home, and feel the cage of Chang'an closing. In the court is a glittering trap, where ambition and fear walk hand in hand. In the imperial archives, Wei sits at his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, a courtier accused of failing to report, a colleague's disloyalty, his name unknown to Wei but familiar to Zhang. The punishment is exile, a march to the frontier. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, his heart heavy with the loss of his sister Zhu, executed in Linyang for her whispered rebellion. He imagines the court, its silken halls hiding betrayal, and wonders how men like Zhang survive its dangers. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by the emperor's justice. In Chang'an's market, a young noble named Li Wei moves through the crowd, his robe shimmering with embroidered cranes. He's 25, ambitious, and eager to rise in the emperor's favor. But ambition is a dangerous game in the capital. Yesterday he overheard a fellow noble, Chen, speak of the emperor's taxes with disdain, calling them a burden on the empire. The law demands Li Wei report this, but Chen is a friend, his laughter a rare warmth in the court's cold halls. Li Wei hesitates, his heart torn between loyalty to the emperor and loyalty to a friend. He thinks of the flogging posts, the executions, on the imperial roads, and feels the cage of Chang'an tightening. In Wei'an, Mei Ling hears of Chang'an's intrigues, the news carried by a traveler. She sits by her loom, her scars aching, and thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and Li Jun, whose scars mirror hers. The capital feels distant, its palaces a world away, but its laws bind Wei'an as tightly as Chang'an. She imagines the nobles, their silken lives no freer than her own, and wonders if anyone escapes the emperor's justice. Her hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she prays for Wei and for Lin Yang, for a world where loyalty doesn't mean betrayal. Li Jun visits Mei Ling, bringing a small bowl of rice. They sit in silence, their shared scars a bond, their thoughts on Chang'an's cage. Li Jun thinks of his own flogging, of Dao's exile, of Zhu's execution, and feels the empire's weight. The capital's stories of nobles betrayed, of courts filled with Fareka Wei'an's own. He wonders if the emperor, a boy in a golden palace, knows the pain his laws cause, or if Chang'an's splendor blinds him to the suffering beyond its walls. In Chang'an, Li Wei makes his choice. He reports Chen, his voice steady but his heart breaking. The words spill out, recounting Chen's careless talk, each one a betrayal. The magistrate Gao listens, his face unreadable, his heart heavy. He's judged farmers, weavers, scholars, and generals. But a noble's fall is different, a reminder that even the powerful are not safe. Chen is summoned, his face pale with shock, and Gao delivers the verdict: exile to the southern marshes. Li Wei watches, his eyes averted, his ambition tainted by guilt. The court is a cage, and loyalty to the emperor is its lock. Gao rides out of Chang'an, his black robe blending with the dusk, his thoughts on Chen's exile. He's seen too many fall. Li Jun Mei Ling, Dao's Yuan feels the weight of his role. The emperor's justice is meant to unify, but it feels like a blade, cutting through lives without care. He thinks of his own daughter, safe for now, and wonders how long he can bear the burden of judgment. The unseen eyesmen like Shen watch him too, ensuring he does not falter, but each verdict chips away at his soul. In the archives, Wei records Chen's fate, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the court, its silken halls hiding pain, and thinks of Zhang, who must navigate the same dangers. Wei's heart aches for Zhu, whose rebellion cost her everything, and he wonders if Chang'an's cage will claim him too. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of the capital, of lives trapped by the emperor's will. In Wei'an, Mei Ling and Li Jun sit together, their village a shadow of itself. They hear of Chen's exile, of Chang'an's betrayals, and feel the emperor's justice like a storm. They think of Dao, of Zulan's empty hut, and wonder if the capital's cage is any different from their own. The empire is a web, its threads binding city and village, noble and farmer, in a shared fear. The Han Empire is a land of splendor, but it's also a land of cages. For Li Wei, it's the guilt of betrayal. For Chen, it's the marshes that await. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, marking his sister's loss. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village they no longer recognize. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice traps all, and even Chang'an's light cannot escape its shadow. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice binds every heart in its unyielding cage. Drift softly, dear listener, into the quiet heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in the village of Wei'an carries the scent of damp earth and fading willow blossoms. The stars are faint above the thatched roofs, casting a pale glow over a community bruised by Emperor Wu's unyielding laws. Tonight, we follow Zulan, our widow, whose desperate sacrifice for her family tests the limits of the Emperor's justice. This is a story of love, courage, and the unbearable cost of protecting those you hold dear. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a mother's touch, yet heavy with the weight of loss. Wayne is a village of quiet sorrow, its fields stripped by taxes, its people scarred by the Emperor's justice. The flogging post in the square stands as a grim reminder, its wood marked by the pain of Li Jun, Mei Ling, and others. The memory of Dao's exile, of Zhu's execution, and of Lin Ying's failed rebellion lingers like a wound that won't heal. Trust is a fragile thing here, eroded by informants like Shen and enforced by magistrates like Gao. Yet in this broken place, Zhulan's love for her family burns bright, a flame that defies the Emperor's shadow, even as it risks consuming her. Imagine your Zhulan standing in your small hut, the air thick with the scent of a dying fire. You're 40, your hands rough from years of washing clothes by the river, your heart heavy with the loss of your son, Tao, exiled to the frontier for stealing a hammer. Your daughter, Mei, is 14, her eyes bright but her frame thin from hunger. The Emperor's taxes have taken your last coins, and the harvest is too small to feed you both through winter. Last night, you heard whispers of a new tax, one that will strip even the meager grain you've hidden beneath the floorboards to save Mei. You'll do anything even if it means facing the Emperor's justice. In Chang'an, Wei sits at his desk in the Imperial Archives, the air heavy with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, a woman in Wayne accused of hiding grain. Her name, Zhu Lan. The charge is grave tax evasion, a crime against the Son of Heaven, punishable by flogging and exile. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, his heart, still raw from the loss of his sister Zhu, executed for her rebellion. He imagines Zhu Lan, a mother driven by love, and feels a pang of sympathy. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by the Emperor's law. In Wei and Zhu, Lan makes her choice. She knows the risk. Shen, the informant, watches the village like a hawk, and Gao, the magistrate, rides through regularly. But Mei's hunger is a sharper blade than fear. Last night, Zhu Lan buried a small sack of grain beneath her hut, enough to keep Mei alive through the cold months. She told no one, not even Mei Ling or Li Jun, her closest friends. But Shen's eyes are sharp, and by dawn, soldiers arrive, their boots heavy on the dirt path. They search her hut, finding the grain, and drag Zhu Lan to the square, her wrists bound, her heart racing. Mei clings to her, sobbing, but Zhu Lan whispers, I did this for you. Gao stands in the square, his black robe stark against the morning light. The crowd gathers, their eyes averted, their silence heavy. He knows Zhu Lan's story, her son's exile, her husband's death, her struggle to survive. Her plea echoes. In his mind, I hid the grain for my daughter, to keep her from starving. Gao thinks of his own daughter in Chang'an, safe for now, and feels a crack in his heart. The law is clear. Hiding grain is theft from the Emperor, punishable by 40 lashes in exile. But Zhu Lan's sacrifice, her willingness to face punishment for her child, stirs a doubt he cannot voice. The Emperor's eyesmen like Shen, watching, and Gao's duty is absolute. Mei Ling stands at the edge of the crowd, her scars aching from her own flogging. She thinks of Tao, of Li Jun, of the village's endless losses. Zhu Lan's sacrifice is a mirror, reflecting her own pain, her own love for her brother. She wants to cry out, to beg for mercy, but fear silences her. The whip falls, and Zhu Lan's cries pierce the air, each one a wound in the village's heart. Mei Ling clutches Li Chun's arm, their shared scars a bond, their grief a heavy fog. They know Shen's betrayal, his coins earned at the cost of their friend, and wonder if Wayne will ever heal. Li Jun watches, his fists clenched, his scars burning. He remembers his own flogging, the pain that lingers in his bones, and feels a surge of anger not at Zhu Lan but at the Emperor's laws, at the informants who betray, at the magistrates who judge. He thinks of Dao, of Zhu, of the village's broken spirit, and wonders if Zhu Lan's sacrifice will be forgotten, like so many others. The square is silent, the crowds fear a weight that crushes hope. Li Jun wants to help Mei, to comfort her, but the Emperor's justice leaves no room for kindness. In Chang'an, Wei records Zhu Lan's punishment, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the village square, the mother's cries, the daughter's tears. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he feels the pain he inflicts. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Wei-in, of lives broken by a mother's love. He steps into the night, Chang'an-esque lanterns glowing, but feels only despair. Zhu Lan's name joins his sister's, a wound that will never heal. In Wei-in, Zhu Lan is released, her back raw, her exile looming. Mei clings to her, sobbing, but Zhu Lan's eyes are steady, her sacrifice, a shield for her daughter. Gao orders her to prepare for the march to the southern marshes, a journey few survive. He watches her go, his heart heavy, his thoughts on the countless lives he's judged. He wonders if the Emperor, a boy in a distant palace, knows the cost of his laws, the mothers who suffer, the children left behind. Mei Ling and Li Jun visit Zhu Lan, bringing a small jar of They sit in silence, their grief a bond, their village a shadow of itself. Zulan's sacrifice is a flame, burning bright but fleeting, and they wonder if Mei will survive alone. The Emperor's justice has taken another piece of Wei-in, leaving only scars and fear. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of broken hearts. For Zulan, it's the sacrifice that saves her daughter but costs her everything. For Mei, it's the mother she'll lose. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, marking another loss. For Mei Ling and Li Zhong, it's the village they no longer recognize. And for the Empire, it's a warning. The Emperor's justice spares no one, not even a mother's love. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the Emperor's justice breaks even the strongest hearts. Drift softly, dear listener, into the searing heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the midday sun blazes over Chang'an's marble halls, casting sharp shadows that mirror the Emperor's unyielding will. The air is thick, with the scent of polished stone and burning incense. But beneath the city's grandeur lies a pulse of fear, quickened by Emperor Wu's wrath. Tonight, we step into the palace, where the young emperor himself wields his justice in a case that shakes the empire. This is a story of power, retribution, and the scorching cost of crossing the Son of Heaven. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold. Gentle as a fading ember, yet heavy with the weight of imperial fury, Chang'an is the empire's heart. Its palace is a vision of gold and jade, where Emperor Wu, barely 16, sits on the dragon throne, his ambition as fierce as the sun. His laws bind the empire with iron, enforced by magistrates, informants, and his own unrelenting gaze. The court is a glittering cage, where nobles and officials tread carefully, their words measured, their loyalty tested daily. But even here, defiance flickers a spark that invites the Emperor's wrath, a fire that burns through lives without mercy. Today, a noble named Lord Han, a man of wealth and influence, stands accused of his fate, a warning to all who dare to challenge the Emperor's will. Imagine your Zhang, our courtier, standing in the great hall, your silk robe heavy with sweat, as you await the Emperor's judgment. You've served the court for years, navigating its dangers, but today's case is different. Lord Han, a man of 50 with a silver beard and a voice that once commanded respect, is accused of treason. He spoke against the Emperor's wars, calling them a drain on the Empire's wealth. His words whispered in a private chamber but carried to the palace by an informant. The hall is silent, the air thick with tension, as Lu Che, the boy emperor, enters, his eyes sharp, his presence a storm. You feel the weight of his gaze, knowing that even you, a loyal servant, are not beyond his wrath. In the imperial archives, Wei sits at his desk, the air heavy with the scent of ink and dust. His brush trembles as he prepares to record the Emperor's verdict, a case that has the court buzzing with fear. Lord Han's name is written in bold characters, his crime treason punishable by death and the destruction of his family's name. Wei thinks of his sister Zhu lost to a rebellion, and feels a pang of dread. He imagines the palace, the Emperor's wrath like a fire consuming all in its path. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life scorched by the Emperor's justice. In Wei-in, Mei Ling hears whispers of Lord Han's trial, the news carried by a traveler from Chang'an. She sits by her loom, her scars aching from her own flogging, and thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and Zulan soon to face the marshes. The Emperor's wrath, once a distant tale, feels closer now, a fire that burns through nobles and villagers alike. She wonders if Lord Han's wealth offered any protection, or if the Emperor's justice is blind to status. Her hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she prays for Wei and for Chang'an, for a world where defiance doesn't mean death. Li Jun sits with Mei Ling, bringing a small bowl of rice. Their shared scars are a bond, their thoughts on the noble's fate. Li Jun remembers his own flogging, the collective punishment that stripped their fields, and feels the Emperor's wrath like a weight on his chest. He thinks of Zulan's sacrifice, of Dao's exile, and wonders if even a lord can escape the Emperor's fire. The village is a shadow, its trust eroded, its heart bruised by fear. Li Jun imagines Chang'an's palaces, their splendor hiding the same pain that haunts Huayin. In the great hall, Lord Han stands before the Emperor, his head high but his hands trembling. Lu Che's voice is calm but sharp, each word a spark. You spoke against my wars, he says, against the Empire's strength. Lord Han defends himself, his voice steady but desperate. I spoke for the people, for their hunger, their burdens. The court gasps, the air heavy with the scent of fear. Zhang watches, his heart racing, knowing that such words are a death sentence. The Emperor's advisors, men like Zhang, stand silent, their loyalty a shield against the wrath that could turn on them. Gao, the magistrate, is summoned to the palace, his black robe stark against the hall's golden light. He's judged farmers, weavers, scholars, and generals. But a noble's trial is rare, a spectacle that draws the emperor's personal attention. Gao feels the weight of Liu Che's gaze, his youth belied by a will of iron. The verdict is swift. Lord Han is guilty of treason, sentenced to death by beheading, his family's lands seized, his name erased from the empire's records. Gao's heart is heavy, but his voice is steady as he confirms the emperor's will. He thinks of Zulan, of Kai, of countless others, and wonders if the emperor's wrath will ever spare anyone. The execution is held at dawn in Chang'an Square. The crowd silent, their eyes averted. Lord Han's head falls. The swords flash, a stark contrast to the rising sun. The emperor watches from a balcony, his face unreadable, his advisors whispering praise for his strength. Zhong stands among them, his heart a storm of fear and guilt. He thinks of Feng, exiled for less, and feels the cage of the capital tightening. Gao, overseeing the execution, feels the scorch of the emperor's wrath, a fire that burns through lives without care. In the archives, Wei records Lord Han's fate, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the square, the noble's fall, the emperor's unyielding gaze. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he feels the pain he inflicts. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Chang'an, of lives consumed by the emperor's fire. He steps into the night, the city's lanterns glowing, but feels only despair. His sister's loss, a wound that burns anew. In Weian, Mei Ling and Li Jun hear of Lord Han's execution, their hearts sinking. They think of their own scars, of Dao's exile, of Zulan's sacrifice, and feel the emperor's wrath like a blaze across the empire. The village is a husk, its people silenced by fear, its hope fading like ash. They wonder if Chang'an's nobles suffer as they do, or if the emperor's fire burns hotter in the capital. The Han Empire is a land of power, but it's also a land of ashes. For Lord Han, it's the life lost to a single truth. For Zhang, it's the fear that binds his tongue. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, marking another loss. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village scorched by fear. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's wrath spares no one, and even the mightiest fall under its flame. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice burns with unrelenting fury. Drift softly, dear listener, into the somber heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air carries the mournful sigh of a river winding through the plains. The water gleams under a fading sky, its surface a mirror for the stars and the sorrows of an empire bound by Emperor Wu's iron laws. Tonight we linger by this river, a silent witness to the forgotten names of those crushed by the emperor's justice, lives swept away like leaves in the current. This is a story of loss, memory, and the quiet pain of those left behind. Settle in, close your eyes and let the tale unfold. Gentle as a river's flow, yet heavy with the weight of oblivion. The river, known to locals as the Wei, cuts through the empire like a vein, its waters feeding fields and carrying trade from Chang'an to distant frontiers. But it also carries stories, names of the exiled, the executed, the broken, whose fates vanish into its depths. Emperor Wu's laws, enforced with unyielding force, have filled the river with ghosts. Farmers like Li Jun, weavers like Mei Ling, scholars like Liang, and nobles like Lord Han, all swept away by the tide of justice. In villages like Weian and Linyang, the river is a place of quiet reflection, where the living mourn the lost, their names fading like ripples on the water. Imagine your Mei Ling, standing by the Wei's banks in Weian, the air cool with the scent of wet earth, and Willow, your scars ache from your flogging, a reminder of the emperor's reach, and your heart carries the weight of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and Su Lan, soon to face the marshes. The river's murmur is a comfort, its steady flow a contrast to the village's broken spirit. You've come here to pray, to light a small paper boat with a candle for those lost, your brother, old Chen Zhu and countless others. The flame flickers, a fragile hope, but the river takes it, as it takes all things, leaving only the echo of names you refuse to forget. In Chang'an, Wei sits at his desk in the imperial archives, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces the names of the condemned farmers, soldiers, nobles, and rebels, their lives reduced to characters on bamboo slips. Today he records a mass punishment, a village near the Wei fined for hiding grain, its people facing hunger or exile. Wei's hand trembles, his heart raw from the loss of his sister Zhu, executed for her rebellion. He thinks of the river, its waters carrying the names he writes, and wonders how many are forgotten, their stories lost to the emperor's justice. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life swept into oblivion. In Weian, Li Jun joins Mei Ling by the river, bringing a small bundle of wildflowers. Their shared scars are a bond, their grief a quiet current. Li Jun thinks of his own flogging, of Dao's exile, of Zulan's sacrifice, and feels the river's weight. He's heard stories of other Sky, the boy flogged in Linyang, General Yang, executed at the wall, Lord Han, beheaded in Chang'an. Their names are fading, carried away by the way, but Li Jun clings to them, whispering them like a prayer. He wonders if the emperor, a boy in a distant palace, knows the river of names his laws have created, or if they are as fleeting to him as ripples on the water. In Chang'an Gao, the magistrate rides along the way, his black robe stark against the twilight. He's judged countless lives. Li Jun, Mei Ling, Dao, Lord Honend. Each verdict is a stone in his heart. Today, he's sent to investigate another village, accused of harboring rebels. The punishment will be fines, perhaps exile for entire families. Gao thinks of Zulan's plea, of Kai's cries, and feels the river's pull. Its waters a mirror for the names he's condemned. He wonders if his own name will join them one day. Forgotten in the emperor's relentless tide, the river is a witness, its banks lined with the ghosts of the lost. In Linyang, Kai's mother stands by its edge, her hands trembling as she lights a paper boat for her son, still recovering from his flogging. She whispers his name, and those of others who Lin Mei from the failed rebellion, hoping the river will carry their memory. In Wayne, Zulan prepares for her exile, her daughter Mei by her side. They visit the way one last time, their footsteps soft on the damp earth. Zulan's sacrifice saved Mei from hunger, but the marshes await, and her name will soon join the river's silent chorus. In the archives, Wei finishes his work, the village's punishment recorded in ink. He imagines the way, its waters flowing, past Wei and Linyang and countless other places scarred by the emperor's justice. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he feels the weight of the names he sends to the river. Wei steps into the night, Chang'an's lanterns glowing, but feels only the chill of loss. The river runs through his dreams, carrying Zhu's name, and he wonders if he'll ever find peace. In Wei Yin, Mei Ling and Li Jun sit by the river, their paper boats bobbing on the water, their candles flickering. They think of Dao, of Zhulan, of the countless others whose names are fading. The village is a husk, its trust eroded, its fields bare. They wonder if the river remembers, if it carries their stories to the heavens, or if it simply washes them away. The emperor's justice is a tide, relentless and unforgiving, and the way is its silent partner, a river of forgotten names. In Chang'an, Gao dismounts by the river, his horse's breath visible in the cool air. He thinks of the verdicts he's delivered, the lives he's sent to the frontier, the marshes, the executioner's blade. The river's murmur is a judgment, its waters reflecting the faces he can't forget. Zulan Kai, Lord Han. He wonders if the emperor, a boy whose ambition burns like fire, knows the river's weight, the names it carries. Gao's duty is to enforce, but each verdict adds to the current, a river of pain that flows through the empire. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of ghosts. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the names they whisper by the river. For Zulan, it's the exile that awaits, her name soon to fade. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, marking the forgotten. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice creates a river of names, and none escape its flow. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice leaves only echoes in its wake. Drift softly, dear listener, into the fading light of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in Chang'an carries the scent of ink and the quiet rustle of bamboo scrolls. The city glows with the warmth of lanterns, but beneath its beauty lies a shadow of fear, cast by Emperor Wu's unyielding laws. Tonight, we follow a scholar named Zhou, whose final words defy the emperor's justice, a spark of truth in a world bound by silence. This is a story of courage, a sacrifice, and the fleeting power of words against an empire's might. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold. Gentle as a scholar's brush, yet heavy with the weight of defiance, Chang'an is a city of learning, its academies filled with scholars who study the classics, their voices weaving tales of virtue and wisdom. But under Emperor Wu, knowledge is a dangerous gift, and the emperor's laws demand silence from those who question his will. The archives, where Wei toils, are filled with records of scholars punished, exiled like Liang, executed like Zhu, their words deemed disloyal. Zhou, a scholar of 50, is one of the last of his kind, his mind sharp as a blade, his heart heavy with the empire's pain. His writings, once celebrated, now carry a risk that could cost him everything. Imagine your Zhou sitting in your small study, the air thick with the scent of candles and old scrolls. Your beard is white, your hands steady despite the years, but your heart races as you pen your final work. It's a treatise on justice, a quiet call for the emperor to temper his laws with mercy, to see the suffering of his people, farmers like Li Jun, weavers like Mei Ling, mothers like Zulan. You know the danger. Having seen Liang exiled for less, but the truth burns in you like a flame. You plan to share it with a trusted student, hoping it will spread quietly, a whisper against the emperor's iron grip. But trust is fragile, and the emperor's eyes are everywhere. In the imperial archives, Wei sits at his desk, the air heavy with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report, a scholar named Zhou accused of seditious writing. His words a direct challenge to the emperor's authority. The charge is treason, the punishment, death. Wei's hand trembles as he writes, his heart still raw, from the loss of his sister Zhu, executed for her rebellion. He imagines Zhou, a man like Liang, whose silence was his defiance, and feels a pang of admiration. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life undone by the emperor's justice. In Wei, Mei Ling hears of Zhou's arrest, the news carried by a traveler from Chang'an. She sits by her loom, her scars aching, and thinks of Tao, exiled to the frontier, and Zhu Lan, now marching to the marshes. The scholar's defiance stirs her heart, a reminder of the courage she's lost. She wonders if Zhou's words will reach Weiyan, if they'll inspire or simply fade. Like the paper boats on the Wei River, her hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she prays for the scholar, for her village, for a world where truth doesn't mean death. Li Jun sits with Mei Ling, bringing a small bowl of rice. Their shared scars are a bond, their thoughts on Zhou's fate. Li Jun remembers his own flogging, the collective punishment that stripped their fields, and feels a spark of hope in the scholar's defiance. But hope is dangerous, and the emperor's justice is swift. He thinks of Zhu Lan's sacrifice, of Dao's exile, and wonders if Zhou's words will change anything or simply add another name to the river of the forgotten. The village is a husk, its trust eroded, its heart bruised by fear. In Chang'an, Zhou is brought before the emperor himself, a rare trial that draws the court's attention. The great hall is silent, the air thick with the scent of incense and fear. Lu Che, the boy emperor, sits on the dragon throne, his eyes sharp, his voice cold. "Your words challenge my will," he says, holding Zhou's treatise, its pages, marked with ink as bold as blood. Zhou stands tall, his voice steady. "I wrote for the empire's heart, for the people who suffer under your laws." The court gasps, and Zhang, our courtier, watching from the sidelines, feels his heart race. Zhou's words are aflame, but the emperor's wrath is a fire that consumes all. Gao, the magistrate, is summoned to oversee the execution, his black robe stark against the hall's golden light. He's judged countless lives. Li Jun, Mei Ling, Dao Lord Han, but Zhou's defiance is different, a challenge to the emperor's core. Gao's heart is heavy, his thoughts on the lives he's broken, the names that haunt him. The verdict is clear, death by beheading, to be carried out in Chang'an's square. Zhou's final words, spoken as he's led away, echo in the hall. "The truth will outlive me." Gao feels their weight, a spark that burns even as the emperor's justice seeks to snuff it out. In the square the crowd gathers, their silence heavy, their eyes averted. Zhou kneels, his face calm, his words still ringing in the air. The sword falls, and the scholar's life ends, his blood staining the stones. Gao watches, his jaw tight, his heart a storm. He thinks of Zhu Lan's plea, of Kai's cries, of Lord Han's fall, and wonders if Zhou's truth will survive. The emperor, watching from a balcony, is unmoved, his advisors whispering praise for his strength. But Zheng, standing among them, feels the cage of Chang'an tighten. Zhou's words, a whisper he cannot forget. In the archives, Wei records Zhou's fate, his brush heavy with the weight of another life. He imagines the square, the scholar's final words, the emperor's unyielding gaze. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he feels the pain he inflicts. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but Wei hears the echoes of Chang'an, of lives lost to a scholar's truth. He steps into the night, the city's lanterns glowing, but feels only despair. Zhou's name joining his sisters in the river of the forgotten. In Weiyan, Mei Ling and Li Jun hear of Zhou's execution, their hearts sinking. They think of their own scars, of Dao's exile, of Zhu Lan's sacrifice, and feel the emperor's justice like a blade. The scholar's words, though silenced, linger in their minds, a spark of defiance in a village crushed by fear. They wonder if Zhou's truth will spread, or if it will fade, like so many names in the Wei River. The Han Empire is a land of wisdom, but it's also a land of silence. For Zhou, it's the truth that cost his life. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands, marking another loss. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village they no longer recognize. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. And for the empire, it's a warning. The emperor's justice silences even the bravest words, and no truth escapes its blade. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice leaves only echoes of defiance. Drift softly, dear listener, into the restless heart of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the twilight air in Chang'an hums with the scent of burning oil and the distant murmur of a city under strain. The empire is a vast tapestry, woven with the threads of Emperor Wu's ambition, its beauty shadowed by the fear his laws inspire. Tonight, we linger in the halls of power and the quiet corners of villages, where the balance of power and fear shapes every life. From the emperor's throne to the humblest field, this is a story of control, resistance, and the fragile equilibrium that holds an empire together. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a fading breeze, yet heavy with the weight of an empire's heart. Chang'an is the empire's pulse, its palaces gleaming with jade and gold, its streets alive with the clatter of carts and the whispers of ambition. Emperor Wu, a boy of 16, sits on the dragon throne, his dreams of conquest and order driving his reign. His laws, rooted in Confucian ideals but sharpened by his will, demand absolute loyalty, enforced by magistrates, informants, and the fear of punishment. The balance of power and fear is delicate. Too much fear, and the empire's heart falters. Too little, and chaos threatens. From Chang'an to villages like Wayne, this balance shapes every act, every word, every life. Imagine your Zheng, our courtier, standing in the great hall, your silk robe heavy with the weight of protocol. You've navigated the court's dangers for years. But the emperor's latest edict call for harsher punishments to quell dissent tightens the air like a storm. You've seen the cost: Feng's exile, Lord Han's execution, Zhou's defiant words silenced by the sword. Lu Che speaks of unity, of an empire strong enough to rival the heavens, but his words are laced with fear, a tool to bind his people. You think of your family, safe for now, and wonder how long this balance can hold before it breaks down in the imperial archives. Wei sits at his desk, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. His brush traces a new report. A village near fined for failing to report a minor rebellion, its people facing hunger or exile. Wei's hand trembles, his heart raw from the loss of his sisters Yu, executed for her defiance. He imagines the emperor, a boy whose ambition burns bright, and wonders if he sees the fear his laws sow. The archives are silent, but Wei feels the weight of every name, every life caught in the balance of power and fear. He thinks of Gao, the magistrate, whose verdicts he records, and wonders if he feels the strain of this equilibrium. In Weian, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars aching from her flogging. The village is a shadow, its fields stripped by taxes, its trust eroded by informants like Shen. She hears of Chang'an's latest punishments, of villages crushed for whispers of dissent, and feels the emperor's balance tipping toward fear. She thinks of Dao, exiled to the frontier, and Xu Lan now in the marshes, their names fading in the Wei River. The emperor's power is a distant force, but its weight is felt in every empty bowl, every silent glance. Mei Ling's hands pause, the silk threads trembling, as she prays for Wayne for a world where fear doesn't rule. Li Jun visits Mei Ling, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. Their shared scars are a bond, their thoughts on the empire's fragile balance. Li Jun remembers his own flogging, the collective punishment that broke Wayne, and feels the emperor's power like a stone on his chest. He thinks of Zhu, the sacrifice, of Dao's exile, of Zhou's execution, and wonders if the emperor's order is worth this cost. The village is a husk, its people bound by fear, their hope fading like a lantern's flame. Li Jun imagines Chang'an, its palaces gleaming, and wonders if its people feel the same weight on Chang'an. Gao rides through the city, his black robe stark against the evening light. He's judged countless lives. Li Jun, Mei Ling Dao, Lord Hanan, each verdict is a thread in the emperor's tapestry of power and fear. Today, he's sent to a village accused of hiding rebels, its punishment a fine that will leave families starving. Gao's heart is heavy, his thoughts on the lives he's broken, the names he sent to the river. He wonders if the emperor, a boy whose dreams burn like fire, knows the cost of his balance fear to keep the empire strong, power to crush its heart. The unseen eyesmen like Shen watch Gao too, ensuring he does not falter. In the palace, Emperor Wu studies a map, his young face lit by candlelight. He speaks of roads to the west, armies to guard the frontiers, laws to bind the empires. Seoul, his advisors like Zhang, praise his vision, but their voices carry a tremor. The balance of power and fear is Lu Che's creation, a delicate dance to maintain order. He knows of the punishments, floggings, exiles, executions, but sees them as necessary, a price for an empire that will endure. Yet in quiet moments he wonders if fear can truly build loyalty, or if it only breeds silence. In Wei and Mei Ling and Li Jun sit by the Wei River, their paper boats bobbing on the water, carrying prayers for Dao, Xu Lan, and the countless others lost. The village feels like a cage, its people bound by the emperor's fear. They think of Chang'an, of the nobles and scholars who suffer as they do, and wonder if the empire's balance can ever tip toward mercy. The river's murmur is a reminder of the names it carries, lives forgotten in the emperor's quest for power. In Chang'an, Zhang navigates the court, his words careful, his heart heavy. He thinks of Lord Han, of Zhou, and feels the balance, shifting fear outweighing loyalty, power crushing hope. He wonders if he'll survive the court's intrigues, or if his name will join the river's flow. Gao, returning from the village, feels the same weight, his verdict's a chain that binds him to the emperor's will. He thinks of his daughter, safe for now, and prays she never feels this fear in the archives. Wei records the village's punishment, his brush heavy with the weight of another loss. He imagines Wei and Linyang and countless other places scarred by the emperor's laws. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he chronicles, and wonders if he sees the empire's heart breaking. The archives are a world of ink and silence, but wait, here's the echoes of the river, of names lost to the balance of power and fear. The Han Empire is a land of order, but it's also a land of trembling hearts. For Mei Ling and Li Zhong, it's the village bound by fear. For Zhong, it's the court where loyalty is a trap. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands. And for the empire, it's a warning. The balance of power and fear holds all, and no soul escapes its weight. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice keeps the balance on a knife's edge. Drift softly, dear listener, into the waning light of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in Chang'an carries the scent of fading blossoms and the distant clang of a temple bell. The empire is a vast canvas, painted with Emperor Wu's ambition, its colors vibrant but its shadows deep, cast by the iron laws that bind every heart. Tonight, we linger in the aftermath of these laws, tracing their legacy through the lives they've shaped and the scars they've left. This is a story of endurance, reflection, and the enduring weight of an emperor's will. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a twilight breeze, yet heavy with the legacy of justice. Chang'an is the empire's heart, its palaces gleaming under the stars, its streets humming with the quiet rhythm of a city that never truly sleeps. Emperor Wu, still a boy of 16, has set his mark on the land, his laws forging an empire of order and fear. The iron law, rooted in Confucian ideals but sharpened by his ambition, demands absolute loyalty, enforced by magistrates like Gao, informants like Shen, and scribes like Wei, from the capital to villagers like Weian. Its legacy is written in scars, exiles, and silenced voices, lives like Li Chen's, Mei Ling's, Dao's, and Zhou's, each a thread in the empire's tapestry, woven tight by the emperor's will. Imagine your Wei, our scribe, sitting at your desk in the imperial archives, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. Your brush traces the final entries of the day, a litany of punishments, a farmer flogged, a village fined, a noble exiled. The names blur: Li Zhong, Mei Ling, Zhu Lan, Lord Han, Zhou, but their stories linger, a legacy of pain etched into bamboo. Slips: you think of your sister Zhu, lost to a rebellion, and feel the iron laws wait in your heart. The archives are silent, but their shelves hold the empire's memory, a record of lives shaped by the emperor's justice. You wonder if Liu Che, the boy emperor, knows the legacy he's building, or if his dreams blind him to its cost. In Weian, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars a constant ache, her hands weaving silk as fine as moonlight. The village is a shadow of itself, its fields bare from taxes, its trust eroded by fear. The iron law has left its mark: Li Chen's flogging, Dao's exiles, Yulan's sacrifice, the collective punishment that starved them all. Mei Ling thinks of the stories she's heard: General Yang's execution, Lord Han's fall, Zhou's defiant words. Each is a piece of the emperor's legacy, a chain that binds Wei into Chang'an village to palace. She pauses, the silk threads trembling, and prays for a day when the law softens, when fear gives way to hope. Li Zhong visits Mei Ling, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. Their shared scars are a bond, their silence heavy with the legacy of the iron law. Li Zhong thinks of his own flogging, of the hunger that drove him to steal, of the village's broken spirit. He remembers Zhu Lan now in the marshes, and Tao, lost to the frontier. The emperor's justice is a tide, washing over their lives, leaving only scars and memories. Li Zhong wonders if Chang'an's nobles feel the same weight, or if the palace's splendor hides the legacy of pain. The village feels like a grave, its heart buried under the iron law. In Chang'an, Gao, the magistrate, rides through the city, his black robes stark against the evening light. He's judged countless lives: farmers, weavers, scholars, nobles. Verdict: a link in the emperor's chain. The legacy of the iron law is written in his heart. Li Chen's cries, Mei Ling's scars, Zhou's final words, Lord Han's blood. Gao thinks of his daughter, safe in Chang'an, and wonders how long he can bear this burden. The emperor's unseen eyesmen like Shen watch him too, ensuring he does not falter. But each judgment adds to the legacy, a weight that threatens to crush him. In the palace, Emperor Wu stands on a balcony, the city's lanterns glowing. Below, like stars, his advisors praise his strength, his laws that have built roads, armies, and an empire to rival the heavens. But Liu Che, young as he is, feels the weight of his legacy. He knows of the punishments: floggings, exiles, executions, but sees them as necessary, a foundation for greatness. Yet in quiet moments, he wonders if the iron law builds loyalty or merely fear, if his empire will be remembered for its strength or its scars. The legacy he weaves is one of power, but its threads are stained with the pain of his people in Weian. Mei Ling and Li Zhong sit by the Wei River, their paper boats bobbing on the water, carrying prayers for the lost Dao's Lan Zhuzhou. The river is a witness to the iron law's legacy, its waters carrying the names of the forgotten. They think of Chang'an, of the palace where the emperor dreams, and wonder if he knows the cost of his laws. The village is a husk, its people bound by fear, their hope fading like the river's ripples. They cling to each other, their shed scars a testament to survival, a quiet defiance against the iron law. In Chang'an, Zhong, our courtier, navigates the court, his words careful, his heart heavy. The legacy of the iron law is all around him: Feng's exile, Lord Han's execution, Zhou's silenced truth. He thinks of his family, safe for now, and wonders if the emperor's ambition is worth his cost. The court is a cage, its silken holes hiding pain, and Zhong feels the balance of power and fear tipping ever toward the latter. He prays he'll survive, but the legacy of the iron law is a shadow that spares no one. In the archives, Wei finishes his work, the names of the condemned blurring into a river of ink. He imagines Wayne, its fields bare, its people scarred, and feels the legacy of the iron law in every stroke of his brush. He thinks of Gao, whose verdicts he records, and wonders if he sees the empire's heart breaking. Wei steps into the night, Chang'an's lanterns glowing, but feels only the weight of loss. The iron law's legacy is a chain, binding him to the emperor's will, marking every life with its unyielding grip. The Han Empire is a land of greatness, but it's also a land of scars. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the village bound by fear. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. For Zhang, it's the court where loyalty is a trap. For Wei, it's the ink that stains his hands. And for the empire, it's a warning. The iron law builds a legacy of power, but its foundation is the pain of its people. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to delve deeper into the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice leaves a legacy that endures in every heart. Drift softly, dear listener, into the twilight of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the evening air in Chang'an hums with the scent of fading lanterns and the distant murmur of a city bound by Emperor Wu's iron laws. The empire is a vast tapestry, its threads woven with ambition, fear, and the scars of justice, stretching from the palaces of the capital to the quiet fields of villages like Wayne. Tonight, we step back to reflect, connecting the echoes of that ancient justice to our own time, where the balance of power and consequence still shapes lives. This is a story of legacy, lessons, and the timeless weight of choices. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a fading star, yet heavy with the resonance of history. Chang'an stands as the empire's heart, its golden roofs gleaming under the moon, a symbol of Emperor Wu's dreams, an empire, vast and eternal, bound by laws that demand loyalty and order. But those laws, enforced by magistrates like Gao, informants like Shen, and scribes like Wei, have left a trail of scars. Li Chen's flogging, Mei Ling's pain, Dao's exile, Zhu Lan's sacrifice, Zhou's final words. The iron law was meant to unify, to forge a legacy of strength, but its echoes are of broken lives, silenced voices, and villages like Wayne, where trust was replaced by fear. As we linger in this ancient world, we see its lessons ripple forward, asking us to consider the cost of justice in any age. Imagine your Wei, sitting at your desk in the imperial archives, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. Your brush, now worn from months of writing, traces the final names of the day. Farmers, weavers, nobles, all caught in the emperor's net. Your heart carries the weight of your sister, Zhu, lost to a rebellion, and the countless others whose stories fill the archives. Li Jun, Mei Ling, Tao, Lord Han, Zhou. You wonder if the emperor, a boy of 16, knows the legacy his laws have wrought, or if his ambition blinds him to the pain. The archives are silent, but their shelves hold lessons that echo beyond their walls. Lessons of power unchecked, of fear that binds, of justice that breaks as much as it builds. In Wei, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars a quiet ache, her hands weaving silk as fine as moonlight. The village is a husk, its fields bare, its people bound by the emperor's laws. She thinks of Tao, lost to the frontier, and Zulan, now in the marshes, their names carried by the Wei River. The iron law's legacy is all around her. Li Chen's scars, the flogging post, the collective punishments that starved them. Yet Mei Ling clings to hope, whispering their names like a prayer, a reminder that even in fear memory endures. She wonders if the future will learn from Wayne's pain, if justice can ever balance mercy with order. Li Jun joins Mei Ling by the river, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. Their shared scars are a bond, their silence heavy with the weight of the past. Li Jun thinks of his own flogging, of Dao's exile, of the village's broken spirit. The emperor's justice was meant to unify, but it divided them, turning neighbors into strangers. He wonders if Chang'an's nobles, its scholars, its emperor, feel the same weight, or if the palace's splendor hides the truth. The river's murmur carries their thoughts forward. A question for our time. What is the cost of laws that demand everything? And what legacy do they leave? In Chang'an, Gao, the magistrate, rides through the city, his black robe stark against the lantern-lit streets. His heart is a ledger of verdicts. Li Jun, Mei Ling, Dao, Lord Han, Zhou, each one a stone that weighs him down. The emperor's iron law was meant to strengthen, but Gao sees only broken lives. Villagers like Wei Yin crushed by fear. He thinks of his daughter, safe for now, and wonders if she inherit a world where justice is kinder. The lessons of the iron law echo in his mind. Power without mercy breeds fear, and fear without trust breeds silence. Gao prays the future will find a better balance. In the palace, Emperor Wu stands on a balcony, the city's lanterns glowing. Below, his advisors praise his strengths, his roads, his armies. But Liu Che, young as he is, feels the weight of his legacy. He knows of the punishments, floggings, exiles, executions, but sees them as necessary, a price for an empire that will endure. Yet in quiet moments, he wonders if his laws build loyalty or merely fear, if his legacy will be one of greatness or grief. The echoes of his justice, he senses, will reach far beyond his reign, a lesson for ages yet to come. In our time we hear these echoes. The Han Empire's iron law with its floggings and exiles seems distant, yet its lessons linger. Power, unchecked, can crush as easily as it creates. Justice, without mercy, can silence as much as it protects. We see it in our own world, laws that bind, systems that demand loyalty, lives caught in the balance of order and fear. The stories of Li Zhan, Mei Ling, Dao and Zhou remind us to question, what is the cost of control, and how do we balance it with compassion? The Wei River, carrying forgotten names, asks us to remember, to learn, to build a justice that heals as much as it holds. In Wei Yin, Mei Ling and Li Zhan sit by the river, their paper boats bobbing on the water, carrying prayers for the lost. They think of Chang'an, of the emperor whose laws shaped their scars, and wonder if their pain will mean something. The village is a shadow, but their resilience is a spark, a lesson that endurance can outlast fear. They hope the future will hear their story, will see the cost of the iron law, and choose a path where justice lifts rather than breaks. In Chang'an, Wei steps into the night, the city's lanterns glowing, but his heart is heavy with the names he's written. He thinks of Gao, of Zhang, of the emperor, and wonders if they feel the same weight. The archives hold the empire's memory, a record of lessons that echo into our time. Power must serve, not crush. Justice must heal, not harm. Wei prays his work. His ink-stained hands will mean something, a bridge between past and future. The Han Empire is a land of greatness, but it's also a land of lessons. For Mei Ling and Li Zhan, it's the scars that tell their story. For Wei, it's the ink that carries their names. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. For the emperor, it's a legacy he leaves. And for us, it's a warning. Justice shapes the future, and its echoes guide us to choose wisely. If you're enjoying this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and let's prepare to step into the final chapter of the Han Empire, where the emperor's justice leaves its final mark. Drift softly, dear listener, into the final twilight of the Han Empire, where the year is 141 BCE, and the night air in Chang'an glows with the fading light of lanterns, their warmth mingling with the scent of jasmine and the distant murmur of a city under the weight of Emperor Wu's iron laws. The empire is a vast tapestry, woven with ambition, fear, and the scars of justice, its threads stretching from the golden palaces to the quiet fields of Wei Yin. Tonight, we stand at the crossroads of past and present, reflecting on the echoes of the emperor's justice and the lessons they carry for our time. This is a story of memory, resilience, and the enduring question of what justice means. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the tale unfold, gentle as a fading star, yet heavy with the weight of history's voice. Chang'an is the empire's heart. Its palace is a vision of gold and jade, where Emperor Wu, a boy of 16, dreams of a legacy that will outshine the heavens. His laws, sharp as a blade, have bound the empire with order, but their cost is written in the lives they've touched. Li Chan's flogging, Mei Ling's scars, Dao's exile, Zulan's sacrifice, Zhou's silenced truth. From the capital to villages like Wei Yin, the iron law has left a legacy of fear, its echoes resonating through the Wei River, carrying names to oblivion. As we close this journey, we ask, what do these echoes teach us, and how do they shape the justice we seek today? Imagine your Wei, our scribe, standing in the imperial archives, the air thick with the scent of ink and dust. Your brush rests, its work done, but the names you've written, Li Zhan, Mei Ling Tao, Zhu Zhou, linger like ghosts. Your sister's loss, her rebellion crushed, is a wound that never heals. You think of the emperor, a boy whose ambition burns bright, and wonder if he sees the pain his laws have sown. The archives are silent, but their shelves hold a story that speaks to us now. Justice without mercy breaks more than it builds, and power without compassion leaves only scars. You step into the night, Chang'an's lanterns glowing, and pray. The future will hear these echoes. In Wei Yin, Mei Ling sits by her loom, her scars a quiet ache, her hands weaving silk as fine as moonlight. The village is a husk, its fields bare, its trust eroded by the emperor's justice. She thinks of Tao, lost to the frontier, and Zulan, now in the marshes, their names carried by the Wei River. The iron law's legacy is all around her, the flogging posts, the collective punishments, the fear that silenced a community. Yet, Mei Ling clings to resilience, whispering their names like a prayer, a defiance against oblivion. She wonders if our time will learn from Wayne's pain, if justice can be a light rather than a chain. Li Jun joins Mei Ling by the river, bringing a small basket of wild herbs. Their shared scars are a bond, their silence heavy with memory. Li Jun thinks of his own flogging, of Dao's exile, of Zulan's sacrifice, and feels the emperor's legacy like a stone on his chest. The village is a shadow, its heart bruised by fear. But Li Jun holds to hope, however faint. He imagines Chang'an, its palaces gleaming, and wonders if its people feel the same weight. The river's murmur carries their thoughts forward. A question for us: what is the cost of order, and how do we build a justice that heals? In Chang'an, Gao, the magistrate, rides through the city, his black robe stark against the lantern streets. His heart is a ledger of verdicts. Li, John, Mei Ling, Tao, Lord Han, Zhou each won a wound he cannot heal. The emperor's iron law was meant to strengthen, but Gao sees only broken lives, villages crushed, names forgotten. He thinks of his daughter, safe in Chang'an, and prays she'll know a world where justice is kind. The echoes of his verdicts linger, a lesson for our time. Power must serve, not crush. Justice must lift, not break. In the palace, Emperor Wu stands on a balcony, the city's lanterns glowing below like stars. His advisors praise his roads, his armies, his laws, but Liu Che feels the weight of his legacy. He knows of the punishments, floggings, exiles, executions, but sees them as necessary for an empire that will endure. Yet in quiet moments, he wonders if his laws build loyalty or fear, if his legacy will be one of greatness or grief. The echoes of his justice, he senses, will reach beyond his reign. A question for us: how do we wield power without losing our humanity? In our time, these echoes resonate. The Han Empire's iron law, with its scars and silences, feels distant, yet its lessons are close. We see it in our own systems, laws that bind, power that demands loyalty, lives caught in the balance. The stories of Li Jun, Mei Ling, Tao, and Zhou ask us to reflect: what is the cost of control, and how do we temper justice with mercy? The Wei River, carrying forgotten names, reminds us to remember, to learn, to build a world where justice heals as much as it holds. The Han Empire's echoes are our guide, urging us to choose a path where power serves the heart. In Wei and Mei Ling and Li Jun sit by the river, their paper boats bobbing on the water, carrying prayers for the lost. They think of Chang'an, of the emperor whose laws shaped their scars, and hope their story will mean something. Their resilience is a spark, a lesson that endurance can outlast fear. They pray our time will hear their voices, will see the cost of the iron law, and choose justice that lifts rather than breaks. In Chang'an, Wei walks through the city, the lanterns casting light on his weary face. He thinks of Gao, of Zhang, of the emperor, and wonders if they hear the same echoes. The archives hold the empire's memory, a record of lessons that speak to us now. Justice must balance order with compassion, power with humanity. Wei prays. His work, his ink-stained hands, will bridge past and future, a reminder that even in fear, hope endures. The Han Empire is a land of scars, but it's also a land of lessons. For Mei Ling and Li Jun, it's the resilience that carries them. For Wei, it's the ink that tells their story. For Gao, it's the verdicts that haunt him. For the emperor, it's the legacy he leaves. And for us, it's a call to build a justice that echoes with mercy, not fear. If you enjoyed this tale, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories alive. Now, rest easy, dear listener, and carry these echoes with you as we leave the Han Empire and its lessons for our time.